been taking so long? Because shop owners are now being closed. They have to show proof that they have this registration. And if they don't, then they have to close. So we'll find out more about that. Then the chairperson on the committee, Portfolio Committee on Health in Parliament, has told the MPs that non-South Africans, and this is a conversation we're going to have, I'm sure, non-South Africans are only entitled to emergency medical services at public health facilities, not what they call the full package of comprehensive health care provided to South Africans. We will talk, hopefully, to the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Health. We believe that the doctor might be on a plane. We're really hoping to talk to Dr. Sibongiseni Dlomo, the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Health. But that's kind of the big topic. It's fascinating to see the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Health saying such things. Traditional leaders, you've heard this with Elvis as well, traditional leaders pressing or express their anger on what they say is the failure of the government in addressing the plight of the rural people. That's come out of an Imbizo, the National House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders Imbizo that took place this week. So we'll talk to Nkosilanga Mavuso, who's the deputy chairperson of that, and we will find out what came out of that Imbizo. Then, this is an ongoing story, right? The US have asked South Africa for clarification on where we stand with Iran. That follows the Defense Forces Chief General Rudzwani Mapwanya when he went on that trip to Iran. Apparently, it was a delayed trip. It was supposed to happen last year. It went ahead this year. There's a lot of confusion about this trip. Presidency saying they didn't know about it, was ill-advised. But we'll talk to a military and defense analyst because the US have picked up the phone. And instead of just going about things willy-nilly, they opened the communication, which is great. But what is the answer? What is South Africa saying? If the US wants clarification. And I was looking at some tweets and texts that have been coming through as well. A lot of people disagreeing. So why we don't have to answer to the US at all? So we'll find out what a military and defense analyst thinks about that. Then, what is community media? And it's an interesting question. You get that little newspaper in your if you live in the major areas, you get a little newspaper in your gate or thrown on the floor sometimes talking about the local community, but it's more than just a newspaper, and there's even questions about whether that's actually a community media. We're going to talk to the researcher at Code for Africa that's just released a study on just how community media is changing the way we see our neighborhood, and this hyper-local. But it's also expanding, and they're using digital platforms. These community medias are getting a larger reach, and it's a fascinating conversation. If you're a SASSA beneficiary, you know somebody that's getting benefits from the government, PostBank says it's fine, don't worry about it, everything's cool, you will get your money, everything's on time. And then we're going to get another update from Ituba. What is going on with the National Lottery? We spoke to a high-ranking official yesterday. Today we're going to the head of marketing and corporate relations at Ituba. They say it's just coincidence that you have to go through the banking channels to win the lotto. We'll find out. We'll talk to Michelle van Trotsenberg, who's the head of marketing and corporate relations, and maybe you can find out how you can win yourself tens of millions of rand through the lotto. All of that's coming up in the next 3 hours. I'm John Gericke in for Tulas. It's 14 minutes past 6.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365. Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za.
You are listening to The Morning Brief.
And it's good morning to Melissa Buta, one of the producers of the program. So good morning to you.
Morning, John.
Friday at last.
Oh, at what cost have we made it to the end?
All right, you got some stories for us you're keeping an eye on in the breakfast, what's it, the morning brief and brief, right?
Yes, the morning brief and brief.
Slowly understanding this, just as well as finished today. Starting with the Tshwane mayor, she says she doesn't face jail time.
Yes, so the Tshwane mayor, Nasiphi Moya, has stated that she doesn't expect to face jail time as the city works to comply with a court order to upgrade the troubled fresh produce market. The metro was found guilty of contempt for failing to implement a 2022 judgment requiring improvements, including fire safety, generators and equipment upgrades using 18 million rand budget. Moya said fixing the market is a top priority ahead of a court deadline and the city's investment summit. An operational plan has been finalized and shared with IMASA. Moya has added that a new market bylaw has also been approved for transparency. So we will see how that goes and if indeed they will meet this deadline.
Staying with the courts, Gauteng Education MEC is facing the wrath of the court.
Yes, so it's tough times, John. Gauteng MEC, Education MEC rather, Madumu Chilwane, and the department's head faces potential contempt of court charges for failing to fully comply with a court order to release documents related to a 9 billion rand school nutrition tender. Umnoto Trading Enterprise accuses them of withholding key records, including bid evaluation and education committee reports. The court has ordered the documents to be submitted by May of 2025, but the department only provided some of the documents which needed to be submitted by that deadline. The UTE seeks to review the tender decision after its disqualification, and the contempt case was removed from the roll for now, with the department ordered to submit a sworn affidavit by August 2022. 22nd rather, I'm sorry. Yeah. By August 22nd. So we will see how that goes and if indeed they meet the necessary requirements.
See, that happens today. And then there was a hostage situation in Ekurhuleni.
The ANC in Ekurhuleni has expressed concern for the safety of its councillors after 3 were held hostage for an hour in Tembisa by a group demanding jobs. The councillors were later rescued by the Metro Police. ANC Chief Whip Sizakele Masuku condemned the act as intimidation, especially as 2 of the councillors are women, calling it disrespectful and bordering on GBV. Masuku urged residents to use legal and peaceful channels to voice their concerns. The incident highlights ongoing frustration amid South Africa's worsening unemployment, which is now at 33.2%. So that is a sad story indeed there in Ekurhuleni.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
That's the morning brief in brief.
You are listening to John Gericka on SFM.
Let me tell you about your weather today. First of all, an impact-based warning from the Weather Service, a yellow level 2 warning. That's waves leading to possible localized damage to coastal infrastructure expected between Lambert's Bay and Plettenberg Bay. That'll spread to Alexander Bay by Saturday evening and persisting on Sunday. Also, a fire danger warning over a large area expected over the extreme northeastern parts of the Northern Cape, in places in the northwest, the northeastern and central Free State, the northeastern part of the Eastern Cape, northern parts of KwaZulu-Natal, and in places in Limpopo as well as places in Mpumalanga. As for the country, Pretoria, Johannesburg, Vereeniging today going to be fine. Pretoria 10 to 29, Johannesburg 8 to 28. Vereeniging 5 to 27. Mbombela is going to be fine, 11 to 30. Mahikeng is fine and windy, 5 to 29. Vryburg also fine and windy, 4 to 29. Bloemfontein's fine, 2 to 23. Kimberley's fine, 3 to 24. And Uppington is fine, 5 to 23. Cape Town, partly cloudy, some isolated showers and rain with a fresh to strong westerly to northwester, 14 to just 16. George is partly cloudy with a fresh to strong westerly to northwesterly, 10 to 19. Gqeberha is partly cloudy today with a light northwesterly wind at first. Otherwise, it'll be fresh to strong southwester, 12 to 20. East London's partly cloudy, light northwesterly wind becoming moderate to fresh southwesterly towards midday, 12 to 22. Durban's fine, becoming partly cloudy this afternoon, some isolated showers and rain. A light northwester, it'll become light to moderate northeasterly by the late morning, 18 to 22. Richards Bay is partly cloudy, some isolated showers and thunder showers. A light northwesterly wind becoming light to moderate northeasterly by the late morning, 14 to 26. Pietermaritzburg, as normal, starts with some morning fog patches, otherwise fine. It will become partly cloudy this evening, 9 to a high of 25.
It is time to experience spectacular football talent from 19 African nations. East Africa is on full vibration. From Tanzania, Kenya to Uganda, the pitch personnel are hungry for continental glory. This is the Total Energies African Nations Championship 2024. Witness Chan 2024 on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 from 2 to 30 August 2025. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
21 minutes past 6. The ICC, the International Criminal Court, has said that it strongly rejects new U.S. sanctions against judges and deputy prosecutors in the court. The sanctions, they say, are a flagrant attack against the independence of an impartial judicial institution which operates under the mandate from 125 state parties from all regions. Gustavo de Cavallo is a senior researcher on African governance and diplomacy at the South African Institute of International Affairs. Gustavo, good morning to you. Thank you very much. First of all, why is the U.S. sanctioning these judges?
Thank you very much. What we saw yesterday with the announcement from Secretary of State Marco Rubio really talks about some of the actions that we've seen from the U.S. administration under Trump that tends to directly undermine judicial independence in terms of accountability of war crimes, but also seeing that actions that have been taken to other officials, both in terms of domestic jurisdictions, as we've seen with Judge Alexandre de Moraes in Brazil, the president of the Brazilian Supreme Court, but also Francesca Albanese, the UN Special Rapporteur for Human Rights in Palestine. Those dynamics and what was presented is that there has been within the ICC interference within what are national priorities and what it's perceived as national security in the U.S. and its allies, in this case Israel, but that in a way politicizes what the court is expected to do and reduces its own abilities of identifying what processes have been undertaken and in terms of accountability for crimes that exist in different territories.
If the U.S. does this, what sort of precedent or what sort of message is this sending to the world on their views on the ICC?
It is a worrying state, I think, for international criminal law. When we've seen the ICC that was created by the Rome Statute has already faced a lot of challenges, both in terms of its own ability to prosecute, but also in terms of the actions that are taken. If we make comparisons to the 2015 refusal to arrest President al-Bashir here in South Africa when he attended the Africa Union Summit in Johannesburg, there's already created many of the challenges. But I think what it does right now is, on the one hand, it reduces much of the opportunities that international courts have in terms of conducting their work, but it also perhaps, I think maybe on a more positive note, it does create a pressure from many countries within the international community to actually strengthen some of these mechanisms and ensuring that there is a degree of accountability for crimes that are occurring in different parts of the world.
Is the ICC still relevant?
It is, but it is under threat. I would say there is, if we've seen many of the cases that have been judged, if we've seen many of the challenges that it has faced, it does provide an important space for many of those crimes that exist. But there is a difficult moment, I would say, for international law. When there is a politicization of processes, it didn't start with President Trump. We've seen many countries within the global south and in Africa previously raising concerns about what types of crimes that are being prosecuted within the court. But the international community does need to find stronger mechanisms that are able to avoid situations like we've seen now, but also that we've seen for the past 80 years.
The reason I ask is Vladimir Putin was on American soil. He's got an arrest warrant out. You mentioned the one in South Africa as well. It's just disregard for the court. It doesn't really matter that they're putting out these arrest warrants.
Yes, I think it is important to notice that the United States is not a signatory of the International Criminal Court treaty, the Rome Statute, as I mentioned before. So in that regard, they wouldn't have the obligation of arresting that. In the case of South Africa is and was a member of the International Criminal Court. And all of that has to do, and I think that brings the discussion about what jurisdiction the court has. Despite the fact that neither Israel or the United States are signatories of the ICC, Palestine is. And that is the argument presented by the court for why it had jurisdiction over that. And similar with the case of Vladimir Putin. There is an importance of understanding and ensuring that these mechanisms are better spread around different nations, but also perhaps how a big question for this process at the moment is how do we ensure that geopolitics are not interfering entirely with the work of international courts, and how do we make it strengthened? I think there is an important question to be asked at the moment by the international community on how to ensure these mechanisms are doing their job properly.
Gustavo de Carvalho, thank you very much. Senior Researcher on African Governance and Diplomacy at the South African Institute of International Affairs.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning. Let's start with Proteas. They're in action. They've won the toss and elected to bat first in the second ODI against Australia, with the Proteas already 1-0 up in the 3-match series. However, they'll be without Pranelin Subrayan, who has been ruled out for the rest of the series due to a reported suspect bowling action. Now, Subrayan impressed on debut, taking 1 for 46 in his 10 overs. Meanwhile, Australian skipper Mitchell Starc says they would have also batted first, describing the pitch as ideal for a one-day game. Let's go to the MTN8 soccer. Mamelodi Sundowns coach Miguel Cardoso has reiterated that the club will address the futures of Kholiso Mudau and Lucas Ribeiro when the time is right, as both players remain absent from training. He was speaking ahead of the MTN8 semi-final second leg against Orlando Pirates. Cardoso also saying the camaraderie of the group is a lot stronger than the public perception.
We have always the philosophy of if someone falls, two should rise. That's how we develop character, how we shape character. And I think that's how has been written the story of Mamelodi Sundowns. By strong characters, by strong values, by strong people. And whatever happens, it's always solved inside doors in the best way possible, and for sure in the right moment, spoken publicly.
In the meantime, Stellenbosch FC will not be parking the bus in their MTN8 semi-final second leg against Sekhukhune United. It's what coach Steve Barker says is anything to go by. They're leading the tie by 2 goals after a 2-0 win in the first leg last weekend. But Barker says their experience in the CAF Confed Cup has taught them to play 2-legged matches with a clean slate.
Obviously, I think we've learnt over the last season or so in these home and away ties playing in Confed is that and sometimes going away from home you have to be braver than at home just because of the importance of the away goals. So obviously that's part of us. We can't go there and expect that we can just defend our 2-0 lead. That would be unwise. I believe that we've got to be positive. We've got to take the game to Sekhukhune. And we've got to try and get an important away goal, which then I believe puts us in a really, really strong position.
And elsewhere, Harry Maguire believes it would be silly to leave Manchester United right now after revealing manager Ruben Amorim has stalled any transfer window moves for the defender. The 32-year-old centre-back arrived at Old Trafford from Leicester in a £1.9 billion deal in 2019, signing a 6-year contract with an option for a further season. And rugby news, the Springboks, they can regain the number 1 world ranking just 7 days after losing it. Rassie Erasmus men dropped from 1st to 3rd after last weekend's 38-22 loss to the Wallabies at Ellis Park, with Ireland moving up to 2nd and the All Blacks reclaiming top spot. Now, according to the World Rugby Rankings permutations, the Boks now have a chance to bounce straight back to number 1, but they will need help. The world champions must beat the Wallabies in Cape Town tomorrow and hope Argentina stun the All Blacks in Buenos Aires by more than 15 points. If that happens, South Africa and New Zealand will swap places. Well, I'll be back bringing you the sport top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, President Cyril Ramaphosa, holding bilateral talks with the Japanese Prime Minister, says South Africa is open for trade with countries willing to invest here. They met on the margins of the Tokyo International Conference on African Development. Bold One South Africa leader Mmusi Maimane says the party is in talks with a number of parties on possible consolidation ahead of next year's local government elections. And Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has ordered the start of immediate negotiations for the conclusion of the Gaza war on Israel's terms. He says these include the release of all hostages held by Hamas. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Quite a backlog coming out of Brakpan and Springs on your way through to Joburg this morning. There's roadworks in a single lane open between Carnival City and Rondebolt Road. It's a plus 10-minute delay already. Speeds on the low side and traffic is building. It'll probably get worse as the volumes increase. Just one lane open. N17 westbound to Rondebolt Road. N3 already queued up to Van Buren Road. The Mike 1 from Boysons through to Parktown looking pretty heavy for Friday. The N1 coming out of Pretoria down through Midrand. The sort of opposite of the Mike 1 going into Joburg. The N1 looks lighter this morning than you might be expecting, but it is Friday, so maybe you've already got an expectation of that anyway. Lighter volumes. Quite heavy. Escort through to Moy River. Crash. One lane open by the Escort South exit, plus a roadwork zone, a construction zone there as well. So just leaving that Escort area down towards Headcote. It is fairly heavily backed up. Misty around Camperdown this morning between Durban and Pietermaritzburg, so drive carefully there. Cape Town fairly slow on the N2. Some big volumes coming in. Khayelitsha through to Mowbray Main Road is pretty busy this morning. The N1 inbound queuing up to Sable Road, and Stellenbosch Arterial queuing as you leave Kales River across the R300. Some delays through Delft, making your way towards the Symphony Way junction. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
Find out what's happening in the markets today, and Taulang Lechella's got all of that information, starting with tariffs starting to bite in the States. And Taulang.
That's right, John, and we are seeing it in the big retailers' numbers, Walmart in particular. Walmart saying that the tariffs are starting to weigh on its operations, particularly its cost lines. The retailer noted that as it replenishes its inventory at post-tariff prices, costs have been rising each week, a trend expected to continue into the third and fourth quarters. Now, in the past quarter, Walmart's U.S. prices averaged 1% higher than the previous year. And now, to mitigate the impact, Walmart is absorbing part of the tariff costs itself and attempting to offset the losses through price increases on unaffected products. Now, this announcement comes alongside its earnings, where the group performed well, delivering double-digit growth in its top line. Now, Walmart's CEO Doug McMillan noted a shift in purchasing behavior, particularly among low and middle-income households who are becoming more cautious in their spending. Despite some of those pressures, the retailer remains confident about its prospects, this as it raised its full-year sales forecast.
And Google and Meta teaming up. What's happening?
So Google has reportedly scored another big deal. Meta is set to spend over $10 billion on Google Cloud services as part of its 6-year agreement. Part of a 6-year agreement, this deal is focused on AI infrastructure, allowing Meta to tap into Google's cloud capabilities. Now, Google has been aggressively pursuing large cloud contracts to compete with Amazon's web services and Microsoft Azure. Just recently, it secured cloud business from OpenAI, which previously relied heavily on Microsoft Azure's infrastructure. Meta's investment, in the meantime, comes as the company ramps up its AI infrastructure and talent acquisition measures, which are projected to hit its bottom line. That expense line is likely to range between $114 billion to $118 billion for the year. This move, of course, highlights Meta's efforts to stay competitive in the AI landscape, despite Google being a rival in online advertising. Now, analysts say the deal demonstrates Meta's commitment to accessing the cloud infrastructure it needs, complementing its existing relationships with Amazon and Microsoft.
And what's happening in the markets this morning?
So markets continued to trend lower, with U.S. stocks closing in the red overnight. The S&P 500 leading the losses, down 0.4%. Traders stateside digesting retail earnings. We just spoke about those numbers out from Walmart. Markets not liking those numbers, with the share price really beaten, down 4.5%. Earnings also moving markets here at home, with investors chewing on Spur and Exoral's results. With that, the JSE closed mostly in the green, with the all share up close to 0.7%. In the currency scene, the rand is still on the back foot, trading at 17.73 to the greenback, and in cost, oil has been trading in positive territory at $66 per barrel. Then over in Asia, trade is mixed as traders remain cautious amid lingering uncertainty about the outlook for interest rates. This, of course, ahead of Fed Chair Jerome Powell's speech at the Jackson Economic Symposium later today.
Darling Lachela, thank you very much. More business in an hour's time.
Africa Update on SAFM.
And it's good morning to Sipho Mantula, giving us an update on what's happening across the continent. Starting in the DRC, Sipho, I see a military court has done some work there. What's happening?
Refreshing morning, John, and jump off to the listeners. John, the military court in DRC has acquitted the former advisor of President Tshisekedi, Francois Beya. He was charged for conspiracy to kill the head of state, John, in 2022. Remember, this is the man who started under the regime of Mobutu Sese Seko, rose through the ranks of the former President Joseph Kabila. Now he was a special advisor and also running matters of intelligence defense. And as he was charged to last, John, the military court found that there was a issue that they were linking him to the plot, but they could not find it because they say he was a victim of a plot rather than as an instigator. So the former military advisor, special advisor, Beya, he has been acquitted by the military court in the DRC. We don't know what will happen to the trial of Joseph Kabila, still under that military court, John. It means in the DRC they are dealing with their past in the present.
Speaking of the past, seems as if good things happening in Sudan.
John, you know, Sudan has to rebuild since the war in 2023 in April between the Sudanese army and the government with the rapid support forces. That the government in Khartoum under Burhan, they are trying to now do what we call rehabilitation. How do you rebuild Sudan? Now they're expecting almost 4 million residents who fled when the war began to return, and they are now rebuilding key infrastructures. Here, John, you will think of the water and the electricity facilities, presidential palace, the minister's building that has been damaged during this conflict, even their cultural sites, John. When you look at their national museum that was recorded by the UNESCO that it has been attacked, and some of the schools. So the government of Sudan in the north under the government of Burhan, they are trying to rehabilitate Khartoum, John, and they say they will need almost $350 million that will do a full recovery in terms of bringing life back into the people of Sudan.
And horrific weather in Niger.
Niger is going through tough times, John. We are talking about the floods that has at least have claimed 47 people, 56,000 people who have lost their homes due to this heavy rains in Niger. Government has said that almost 7,000 households and 33 neighborhoods and villages are affected by this drought, John. And the government have set aside almost $21.3 million US dollars to help those affected by the flooding. This has happened before, John. 2024, the heavy rains impacted almost 1.5 Nigerians in that country. Almost 8 regions were affected in Niger.
You have a special on women for us in Women's Month.
John, we are doing this series actually with Tula since we have started on Africa Update. We are calling it Who's Transforming Africa? Is the women who refuse to wait their turn. Africa has always has brilliant courage of visionary women. From today, we are looking from Nigeria to South Africa. We are looking at this woman, Mariam Buka Hassan. This was a lady who was born in 1996, a Nigerian poet, a spoken word artist, a storyteller, a digital creator, the first UN global advocate for peace and security. John, what is interesting about this woman, Buka Hassan, he has trained over 5,000 young children in storytelling and creative advocacy. She has performed actually last month with Femi Kuti and Cape Verde Ilada when they were in the New York. So this is a great woman that we are honoring this morning. Coming to South Africa, Cherise Doon. This is the lady who was born in Bloemfontein, went to University of Cape Town, John. Interesting character, this woman, that she has created what we'll call, John, the 3D, the use of 3D printing to make healthcare more accessible, resilient, and innovative across the continent. He has trained more young people also, John, when one looks at the career of Cherise Doon. This is a lady who also appeared in the TED Talk where he said, made for Africa, made in Africa, looking at the fourth industrial revolution where healthcare system, John, no longer wait for outside solution, but can design and produce their own. These are the two great women, John, I thought this morning let us highlight and profile them as you are still on the Women's Month.
Mm-hmm. And a quick look in your archives. You're going way back today.
I'm going back to the 22nd of August 1791. We're going to the island of Haiti where there are still gangsters there. But what happened 234 years? The UN has set aside the 22nd and the 23rd of August, John, as the day of commemorating Haiti's role in ending the slave trade. What might others they call it the slave trade, but how do you trade about people? We might call it the kidnapping, the exploitation of the African bodies and souls. So this happened on this day when we saw the Haitian Revolution, the only successful slave rebellion in world history, John. And we know people like Toussaint Louverture. This is the man who overthrew the French government during that time, and is still being celebrated in Haiti. Hence, I said the Haiti is the name that you can never forget about it, John. They got independence in 1804 on the 1st of January. It was only former President Thabo Mbeki, John, who visited Haiti when they were doing their centenary. I think that was 2004. It was hectic, John, when you look at Haiti with its current history, but this is a country that was marked in the global history calendar about the 22nd and the 23rd of August. Asante Sana, John, also leading the conversation, SFM observing the Women's Month.
Thank you very much, Sipho Mantula. More from him again on Monday. Have a great weekend.
This year, the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival presents 3 unforgettable days deep in the art and heart of jazz. From the 26th, 27th, and 28th of September, Umu Sankare, Ababemu, Jasmia Horn, Silent Law and the Noisemakers, Najbonk Trio, Michelle Ndingio-Jello, Valencini, Gabby Mutuba, and over 50 world-class acts will be ready to welcome you and yours to 4 magnificent stages of the Sandton Convention Center. Take me there. Buy your tickets at Ticketmaster now.
This week on FC Meets, Kisetso and Mandile are joined by journalist and sports broadcasting rising star Mpumi Manyisi. She bears all about her journey through the world of sport journalism and shares insight on retaining integrity and breaking stories. Tune in to SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 this Saturday, 23 August at 6 p.m. Also available on SABC+. FC Meets. Football made for community by community. Rechencha Game. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
I am Baba Lobisha, the Executive Mayor of Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality. The Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality has recently adopted a 21.6 billion budget for the 2025-2026 financial year. This budget, shaped by extensive public participation, prioritizes critical needs such as electricity, sanitation, roads, and water infrastructure in the fight against crime. As part of implementation of this budget, strict measures have been introduced to fast-track spending, improve accountability, and ensure that every cent delivers real impact. This is more than just a budget. It's a commitment to community-driven service delivery that will not only improve our lives, but create enabling environment for investment that will grow economy and create jobs. Together, we make our municipality work.
Channel your inner warrior woman this August on Expresso as we celebrate and empower women across South Africa. From trailblazing heroines to inspiring entrepreneurs, we spotlight stories of strength, resilience, and change. Join us for powerful panel chats, wisdom, wellness, and bold conversations on equality, GBV, and women's rights. This Women's Month, rise with the women leading our nation forward. Weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. only on S3.
SAFM is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
7:15 with SAFM. John in for Tulas. Good morning to you. Labour unions have criticised KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. He suggests that South Africa's rising unemployment rate is the result of unions constantly pushing for higher pay for their members. Mkhwanazi was speaking during KwaZulu-Natal Premier Tami Mtuli's stakeholder engagement on crime prevention on Tuesday.
Police officers in KZN to 19,000. But the population is growing and we are going down more. Thanks to who? The unions. Labor people who said we want salaries for our employees. So the more government employment increase salaries is the lesser they employ. So the lesser they employ, the more crime they get. So we need to really interrogate and ask these things. Prima, you said this country is going down in front of our eyes. The reality is we've got too many things that are wrong in our country that contribute. Labor laws are one of those. I can tell you that one. We moved to 25,000 employees. It was paying me to look at the NUMSA's Secretary General yesterday talking about the closures of UDA. So when we have companies that are starting to shut down, you need to ask yourself, and many of them shutting down in the country, the higher the salary we need, the lesser the employment. And that's a reality. We can't avoid it, but it's a fact.
So that's the General Mkhwanazi. Mr. Ashley Benjamin is from FEDUSA, the Federation of Unions of South Africa, Deputy General Secretary of FEDUSA. Ashley Benjamin, you disagree with the General?
Good morning to you, John, first of all, and good morning to the listeners. Yes, we strongly disagree with the Lieutenant General and his irresponsible remarks that trade unions and workers are the cause for high unemployment and not creating jobs. I think it's very unfortunate that Lieutenant General could issue such statements.
In what way is he wrong? If you want more salaries, you got to fire some people to be able to pay for it.
Well, South Africa's unemployment crisis is not caused by workers and trade unions demanding fair wages. In fact, the Lieutenant General himself is a beneficiary of collective bargaining. Whatever wage increases is agreed between the trade unions and government, all public servants are beneficiaries of those increases that improve their lives and that of their families. But the real culprits is politicians. It's not managing government properly, poor governance, malfeasance, corruption. It has led to collapsing infrastructure and the implementation of austerity measures over a number of years that undermine the economy and stripping the public services of dearly needed resources. So the General is completely out of line when he made those utterances, in the public domain.
I look at it as a wedge. All those things that you mentioned are the wide edge of the wedge. the sharp end is what the Lieutenant General is talking about. All of that leads to the fact that there isn't enough money to be able to hire people, and therefore companies and the public sector can't hire new people.
Well, we don't agree with that notion of it. That's what I'm saying. It's ill-informed, and it's precisely because the Lieutenant General is not a politician and he's venturing into dangerous areas by making political statements without having the real facts to his disposal. The problem is there's enough money in this country and government. It's corruption. If you look at the cost of corruption in government alone, malfeasance, state capture, there is enough money to deploy resources, to build a capable state, to employ more public servants. In fact, FADUSA has in many instances advocated, in particular, for more policing, more funding to the South African police services to combat crime, to ensure safer communities, ensure safer conditions for all South Africans. We've been on his side. And in the same breath, let me also acknowledge and commend him and his team for the good work he's been doing in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. And we can see that he's certainly rocked the boat, and other provincial commissioners are following. As you can see now, there's all of a sudden a hype to fight and tackle crime, nationwide. But we want to caution the Lieutenant General, stay in your lane, do what you do best, is fighting crime and ensuring safer communities, and leave the politics to the politicians.
All right, FADUSA Deputy General Secretary Ashley Benjamin, thank you very much. The Federation of Unions of Trade of South Africa rejecting what they call irresponsible remarks by the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhunazi.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Eskiam Pathlele coming into Pretoria quite slow this morning through Van der Hof and down in towards the Marabastad area. Lights are still off as they were yesterday. Solomon Mishlangu and Delphi Avenue. Some delays leaving the Pretoria East area. If you like, Solomon Mishlangu heading westbound. Quite heavy working through that junction. Always is when the lights are off there. And the N17 caught in quite a heavy backlog from Carnival City moving through towards the Rondebolt Road exit. So Brakpan through Boksburg being held up by some roadworks. Just a single lane section. Give yourself an extra 15 minutes at least to get through that. Durban, the Kumashu Highway from Malandela down towards the N2 via Dust Roads quite slow. Truck crash and some roadworks just south of Escort causing quite a big backlog this morning through that Escort area down towards the Hidcote side. One lane open at that crash scene as well as a single lane open through the roadworks as well. Cape Town N2 pretty heavy for a Friday, queuing up from the airport through to Mowbray Main Road. The R300 standing up through Brackenfell towards the N1 and something potting around the Brackenfell is there's some very heavy traffic on Okavango Road coming south down towards the N1 highway. It's a very unusual queue of traffic getting out of that side of Brackenfell. Routes like De Bron as well getting into Okavango Road quite heavily backed up. We'll keep an eye on that one for you. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Babina Noko have a mammoth task to triumph with a convincing margin. But 2024 finalists, Stellies, want to protect their 2-0 lead to return to the final. This is the MTN 8 second leg semi-final. Wafa Wafa! Catch Sekhukhune United versus Stellenbosch FC this Saturday, 23 August at 5:30 p.m. Live on SABC2 and SABC Plus. Also available on SABC radio stations at 6 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Let's rewind 6 years, when Twitter was still Twitter, and not a letter of the alphabet. TikTok was simply the sound your clock made. And Zoom just meant enlarging a picture. So it makes you wonder, what will the next 6 years bring? Hino trucks now come standard with a 6-year drivetrain warranty, covering everything from pistons to gears. So although a lot can change in 6 years, our warranty promise won't. T's and C's apply. Hino, all the way.
This week on Off-Pitch Goals, having had a solid career for UJ ladies, Basia Michaels now sits at the head of the table when it comes to football agents. Representing some of South Africa's brightest football superstars, she breaks down how the world of talent management works. Tune in to SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 this Saturday, 23 August at 6:30 p.m. Also available on SABC Plus. Off-Pitch Goals, where we showcase how the stars score in business. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Do great solutions start with good conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
It's 5 to 7, you're with SAFM. We were hoping to talk to the Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality MMC for Public Health now. Unfortunately, MMC, you're not answering your phone, so please have a look at your phone. We want to talk about the spaza shop owners in the Nelson Mandela Bay who are blaming the municipality for failing to process their applications. Remember, this whole spaza shop permit incident that happened. They've paid their money, they say, and only 293 of the almost 2,000 spaza shops have actually been registered. So we are hoping to talk to the councillor about that, but there's no answer at the moment. We'll keep trying through the morning. Quick cricket update for you. South Africa 22 for 1. Zai will bring you details, but I can tell you Aiden Markram out for a duck off just 4 balls. South Africa 22 for 1 in the 6th over. Dezozi's on 14. Rickleton is on 8. Gives us an opportunity to go to the phones, and we'll go to the WhatsApps as well if they've come through as well. As always, phone lines are open. 086 000 2032. WhatsApp if you want to send us a voice note. 0614 104 107. What do you think of Adusa telling Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi to stay in his lane? Maxwell, what do you think?
Good morning, my good sir. I think it's irresponsible for Sedusa because any South African, provided with your ranks, when you love this country, you are free to voice your opinion. How do you see the country going? So for anybody who thinks that General Mkhwanazi must stay in his lane, it is very difficult because it's one of the South Africans who love this country dearly. If he thinks, it is his opinion though, those who are in charge as politicians, they need to pick what is talking positive and what they think is negative and implement it, because honestly, this country is being a time bomb. And I'm very, very sometimes angry when I hear politicians talking about job creation and say, youth. You know, that word is making me angry because even in my youth, now I'm around 50. In my youth, they made the same promise 30 years ago, and they've never delivered anything. Only the selected youth that they're talking about them, they're creating for those jobs. But the majority would become adult after youth. It was the same promise.
All right, that's what Maxwell in Pretoria has to say about General Mkhwanazi. Let's take a couple of voice notes on this topic as well.
Good morning, John and your team. This is Sakilin Tsuguni from Gwamshabialingan. You know, John, General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi has attracted another adversary in the form of unions for exposing their clandestine behavior. And I like it because what he has said is true. Thank you.
Good morning, John, SAFM listeners. I think General Mkhwanazi should focus on the upcoming inquiry of the corruption in the police. Talking about unions, no, unions have got nothing to do with the collapse of the economy of South Africa. It's all about corruption and failed economic policies of the African national corruption. They call it African National Congress. It's got nothing to do about unions because unions are there to protect the workers. And for quite some time, the workers were not listened to by the companies. So when these laws were introduced, it was both to serve, and the labor laws of South Africa are serving both the employer and the employees. It could not just be one side and say that it was caused by the unions. No. Good morning.
John in Limpopo, what do you have to say?
Good morning, John. How are you? I'm okay, John. I just want to speak about Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi's allegation regarding the unemployment in South Africa. There's one thing. There are three facts that people don't want to talk about. The first one is the unemployment rate goes with the salary, as he spoke about, and then secondly, it's the experience of new graduates, and the last one is the ability to deliver to expectation. because we do have a new graduated on the market, but they want to be employed, no experience, but they expect a high salary. That is the first thing. And the secondly is the new graduates we do have on the market, sometimes they fail to deliver to expectation because they do have qualification, but they don't have a proper experience and skill. That is why we do have so many unemployment graduates on the market, because we are producing every year. Every year we're producing, but we don't have the right quality. That's what I can say. Thank you, John.
John and Limpopo, thank you very much for your views. What do you make of that? Give us a call, 086 000 2032, and the WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. Coming up after the news, I'm going to talk to Dr. Sibugaseni Dlomo, the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Health in Parliament, who says that non-South Africans only entitled to emergency medical services, not the full package. And we will also hear from the Durban High Court. They've struck off an application brought by the South African Refugee Organisations Forum against the government ministers to that ongoing blockade of public healthcare facilities. A whole lot of technicalities in that legal court case. We will find out a little bit more from March and March's legal advisor. It's 7 o'clock.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Time to switch and save. Call 08600 60,000 today.
In our top stories, South Africa ready to partner with Japan, and Netanyahu orders immediate negotiations to release hostages. Good morning. President Cyril Ramaphosa, holding bilateral talks with the Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, says South Africa is open for trade with countries willing to invest here. He met Ishiba on the margins of the Tokyo International Conference of African Development. President Ramaphosa is advancing South Africa's presidency of the G20 and enhancing bilateral economic engagements with the government of Japan. He says South Africa welcomes anyone who invests in the country.
Japan has been in South Africa and investing in South Africa for years. And China has been our friend as well and is also investing. And we welcome both, because both are beneficial to us. And we will never say, no, we love you better than we love the other one. We embrace both, and both must invest and deal with us to the extent that they can.
Bold One South Africa leader Mmusi Maimane says the party is in talks with a number of parties on possible consolidation ahead of next year's local government elections. Maimane says the party has learned through previous elections that the fragmentation of multiple political entities at local level do not serve citizens. He was speaking at a briefing in Rosebank, Johannesburg, yesterday.
But then when you look at the potential of the aggregation, the sum of the parts, there's a risk that the dark horse that comes from this side, with just a few votes extra, which we could have beaten if we clubbed together, wins the ward and we struggle. It's a tactical response to saying you don't want elements of populists who are unconstitutionalists winning via the back door.
At the same briefing, Maimane also appealed to the legacy foundations that pulled out of the national dialogue to return. He referred to the Thabo Mbeki, Steve Biko and F.W. de Klerk foundations that withdrew their participation in the recently held national convention.
That's why it's important, as I'm appealing again to all the foundations, that whilst they may have challenges with the process, I want to invite them into the process. They must come back. I want to equally so say to South Africans, we have to do our best to ensure that it works. It is not politicized.
The Deputy Minister for Science, Technology and Innovation, Nomalungelo Gcina, says getting more women into senior positions at science institutions across South Africa remains a challenge. The minister was addressing guests attending the South African Women in Science Awards in Bloemfontein last night. Gcina says the finalists in both emerging and established research have produced groundbreaking work that will improve the lives of ordinary South Africans.
And marginalized communities advancing equity in education, healthcare, religion, and public policy. In the natural and engineering sciences category, finalists are advancing knowledge in pain science, pediatric critical care, genomics, plant pathology, and environmental chemistry.
And finally, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has ordered the start of immediate negotiations for the conclusion of the Gaza war on Israel's terms. He says it includes the release of all hostages held by Hamas. Israeli officials have been voicing opposition to a ceasefire deal with only a partial release of the hostages, which has been accepted by Hamas. The BBC's Joe Floto has the details.
Up until a few weeks ago, Israel was pushing only for a ceasefire deal that would get some of the hostages back. It was refusing to end the war. And then a couple of weeks ago, the Israeli Prime Minister said, you know what, we're done with that. The only thing that is going to end this war is a full deal, all of our hostages back, and the defeat and disarmament of Hamas. And so when this proposal from the mediators came at the start of the week, the Israeli government restated that position. It said, we're not interested in partial deals, but there's a ceasefire deal on the table. The pressure to take it is considerable, both inside Israel and outside Israel.
Recapping the top story, President Cyril Ramaphosa holding bilateral talks with the Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba says South Africa is open for trade with countries willing to invest here. He met Ishiba on the margins of the Tokyo International Conference on African Development. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Visit outsurance.co.za today. You always get something out.
You are the poster child, the biggest saver we've ever had.
I decided that I would contact Outsurance and let them work out what they could do for me.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, big saving. 2,794 Rand a month.
That's over 33,000 Rand a year.
And it was the easiest switch ever. Real people helping real people get real deals.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands. Licensed insurer and FSP, T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SFM sports headlines, cricket action underway as the Proteas wobble early in Mackay, 29 for 2 against Australia in the second ODI, and soccer MTN8 semi-final fever hitting boiling point. Sundowns and Pirates set for a sold-out showdown. We have the details just before 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. A reminder, heavy traffic out of Brakpan and Springs this morning on your way to Joburg. Just one lane open before Rondebolt Road. Heavy queues all the way back through to the Carnival City exit. The mighty Mopani Highway to Pretoria queuing up from Theo Martins down towards Eskia and Pathvalley. And no traffic lights out in Pretoria, East Solomon, Mishlangu and Delphi. Quite a backlog to get through that junction. Escort area, Escort south down to Headcote being held up. There's some roadworks and a truck crash scene as well. Big backlogs if you're on your way to Durban as you come through that Escort area down towards the Headcote region. Durban's N2 going north from the M7 up through Spaghetti Junction into Westwood Mall. That's already jam-packed today. Cape Town, very heavy around Brackenfell area, particularly Okavango Road coming south down through Cape Gate towards the N1 highway. That's all backed up. And Viking Way struggling along this morning from Elsie's. Very slow to Jakes Herville in the Epping area. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
9 minutes, make that 8 minutes past 7. You with SAFM. John in for Tulas this morning. It's just about the weekend. We're having some issues with answering of phones. We were hoping to talk to Dr. Sibungiseni Dlomo, the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Health, after the doctor said or told MPs in the Portfolio Committee that non-South Africans are only entitled to emergency medical services, not the full package of comprehensive healthcare. We were hoping to talk to him about those comments, unfortunately not answering the phone, but we're going to talk to Xolani Zuma in a moment, a March and March legal advisor on a court case that's been struck off the roll This was brought by the South African Refugee Organisations Forum, SAROF, against the government ministers about those ongoing blockade of public healthcare facilities. So a related story with Cloney in a moment. Then later on, there was the 2025 National House of Traditional Leaders and Khoisan Leaders Imbizo. Took place in Boksburg over this week. We're going to talk to Nkosazana Mavuso about a number of issues that have been raised there, and one of those is their anger at the failure of government to address the plight of rural people. So we'll find out what has come out of that conversation. And then later on, the US government wants clarification on South Africa's current policy on Iran. That's after the SA National Defense Forces Chief General was out in Iran, had a couple of things to say. He's had to answer to DIRCO Ministry, but we'll see what Helmut Hittman has to say and why the US is getting involved in what South Africa wants to do. So all of that's coming up in the next half hour.
Mr. Govender, congrats on the retirement. You just sold your car to We Buy Cars. Tell us about it.
Yes, it just gathered dust in the garage, so I exchanged it for cold hard cash. Now my wife and I can enjoy a stress-free retirement.
Retiring the car as you retire. Nice. So why We Buy Cars?
It was so quick. They came over to our house to do the evaluation, and we sold it the same day. Tops, man.
Okay, so now you got even more time on your hands, eh?
Exactly.
We Buy Cars. Geared for your next chapter. Geared for you.
The Bavarians want to rubber stamp that they are reigning champions and open the curtain with victory. Meanwhile, the Red Bulls are confident they will cause an upset. This is the Bundesliga, football as it's meant to be. Catch Bayern Munich versus RB Leipzig this Friday, 22 August at 8:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Luck could be on your side when you play Powerball and Powerball Plus for 69 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Friday. That's right. Play Powerball for an estimated 26 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 43 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old and play responsibly. E2 is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
12 minutes past 7. Let's talk courts for a little while. There was a legal development this week where the Durban High Court struck off the roll an urgent application brought by the South African Refugee Organisations Forum against the government ministers related to the ongoing blockade of public healthcare facilities targeting foreign nationals. A number of technicalities here. The court found that it wasn't urgent. SAROF waited too long. It was started in July and they waited until August to bring the application. So they found the matter didn't meet the requirements for urgency. Also, legal representatives for the ministers argued successfully that their clients were the wrong parties to sue. State attorney contended that the ministers were not directly responsible for the actions of private groups blocking access. Proper internal processes, such as formal complaints at hospital management, which could then escalate to the health minister, had not been followed. Let's find out the reaction from March and March Legal Advisor, one of the groups that are doing this blockade. Klani Zuma is the legal advisor. Klani, good morning to you. What do you make of this court ruling, first of all?
Good morning, John, and good morning to the listeners at home. First, John, I think we must indicate that this is an abuse of a court process. The applicants in this case knew as early as July that there are these ongoing demonstrations, which in fact we must clarify that no one has ever been stopped from accessing medical health care in all these public institutions. So basically that's the first point. Secondly, they have an alternative remedy. If they had issues with members of the March and March movement trying to protect and vindicate the rights of the innocent citizens of this country, they would have gone to open a case with the police. No case has been opened with the police. But thirdly, they had actually taken wrong respondents to court. In this instance, I mean, why would you take the Minister of Police and the Minister of Health when in fact you know that people who have been protecting the rights of the citizens are the members of the March and March and to some extent to DULA. So it was in fact misplaced and an abuse of court process, and it must actually be condemned. But secondly, we do want to indicate that such movements must understand, or such organizations must understand, that no one is fighting with asylum seekers and immigrants who are in this country legally. There is a problem with a vast majority of illegal immigrants who are in this country, who are raping young people, women and children, who are selling drugs, who in fact, I must indicate, John, that the police have a serious challenge. Till today, we've got an illegal immigrant who killed 2 police officers in our country. That person has not been found. These organizations must be working tirelessly to give us that moyo so that our citizens can be protected. So in fact, we condemn such actions of people who are going to court just to waste the court
right.
time and process. Yeah.
You say no one's been stopped from going into medical facilities?
Absolutely not. What our members have been doing is to stand at the gates of all these facilities to ask these people, to prove that indeed they have a right to access those facilities. You know why we're doing that? We're doing that because even the Criminal Procedure Act allows citizens to arrest and take people to the police if in fact you feel that they have committed a crime. We know that many of these illegal immigrants are using fraudulent documents, and it is our duty to ensure that we assist government to fight the scourge of actually abusing processes at Home Affairs. And we are calling these organizations to work with us. Secondly, in terms of the law, people are distorting Section 27. Section 27 allows illegal immigrants to access emergency services in terms of our healthcare, not any other service. That is not what the Constitution says. And in fact, we've seen some government leaders distorting this, and we're calling on them to read the Constitution correctly. In fact, there is no free healthcare in our country. That section talks about many other things, including social grants and many other things. And if that's the case, then why are we not giving everything to illegal immigrants? We have, in fact, it even says that government must do so within the limited resources. We don't have resources. Our people are giving birth on the floor. Our mothers are dying on the road on their way to access healthcare because there are no ambulances. And some money can't be accounted for. So we are asking for responsibility from government.
Well, Annie, a spokesperson in an article I've got in front of me here, known only as Seesaw, was quite outspoken, saying that Saros actions indicate elements of terrorism, part of a plot to make South Africa ungovernable and a banana republic, going on to say they were funded by terrorist groups. Is that the view of March and March?
Well, of course. I mean, if you have such a weak, system in terms of accessing our country, where any person who is an illegal immigrant can just come here, we don't know today how many mercenaries do we have in our country. We don't know how many people are training in our country to overthrow this government and take over. We are even distorting our culture, our religion, and everything. We are going to give birth to children that are not going to be South African. In fact, who are illegal in this country. We have a problem of a country that is supposed to have 60 million citizens, which in fact today we may realize that we've got 80 million citizens, which can't be accounted for. And this is a cause for concern because these people are not here because they are running away from their countries because there's a war. They are coming here to abuse our system. If you go to Point Road in Durban, the entire place has been hijacked by illegal immigrants. They are selling drugs. They're even killing the police now. It shows the disdain they have for our law. It shows that they don't take our government serious. Our other concern is that why is government so scared of illegal immigrants? Why do they feel that South African citizens who are struggling must be the ones that must be punished, who are in fact are voting for this government? This is a discourse we must have in our country, that why are we being punished as citizens by people who are not even paying tax for that matter, John? Only 7.5 million people are paying tax in our country to fund over 60 million. Is that normal in our country?
Radi Zuma is March and March legal advisor. Thanks very much.
Do you know what's hiding behind colorful packaging of unhealthy food? Big food companies target children with unhealthy packaged foods that hide high levels of sugar, salt, and fat, which could lead to heart disease, diabetes, and hypertension. But the truth is hidden from consumers. Front-of-package warning labels are a proven solution to help consumers make informed decisions. The government must act now. We have the right to know what's in our food. Demand front-of-package warning labels. Sign the petition on heala.org, HEALA.org, by 30 September.
Amakhosi have a different strategy. They want to collect maximum points in the early days of the season. While reigning champions, Masandawana, want to sing their happy song, Double Yellow. This is the Betway Premiership. Catch Mzansi's Clash of Giants, Kaizer Chiefs versus Mamelodi Sundowns, this Wednesday, 27 August at 6:30 p.m. live on SABC3 and SABC Plus. Then on SABC radio stations at 7:30. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Are we ready for a real conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
7:20. Traditional leaders have expressed their anger at what they say is the failure of the Government of National Unity in addressing the plight of the rural people. The 2025 National House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders had an Imbizo this weekend, and Nkosi Mavuso is the Deputy Chairperson of the National House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders. Nkosi, thank you very much for joining us. You were addressed by political parties in the GNU at this Imbizo. What came out of it at the end? Sorry, I just got to get that online. Sorry, Nkosi, this answer again. What came out of the meeting?
Can you hear me, John?
Yeah, I can. Sorry, it was my fault. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, we resolved yesterday, John, as traditional leaders of the Republic of South Africa, that and propose also to the political parties that there has to be an amendment to the Constitution, amendments that will guarantee powers, functions, and protection of traditional leadership in the country, whereas it is Chapter 12 does not guarantee the recognition and powers of traditional leaders.
The president,
and secondly,
the president's been making these promises for a long time. Do you think they'll follow through?
We've been trying to reason with our government that it's been 30 years pursuing these discussions. At least by now, they should be implemented.
Just explain to me how, when we live in a democracy, traditional leaders can be given this kind of authority.
Our democracy, John, is a special type of a democracy because you cannot wish away the fact that there's royalty in the country. Many countries like England, Norway, the Scandinavian countries have been thriving. Their democracy has been thriving with their royalty being guaranteed. So in a way, we can do the same as South Africa.
You've threatened to boycott, or there is a threat to boycott the 2026 local elections if these promises aren't followed through. How are you going to do that?
No, what we are saying, the Deputy President and the Minister of Culture, we are pursuing discussions with them. Some of the issues that we've been raising, like the killing of traditional leaders, they promised that at least before the end of the year, those issues will be addressed. But as it is in the country, 2004, 2023, 2024, 49 traditional leaders have been gunned down. And we've been pursuing government to protect us because some of the decisions we make against our peers, against some elements in the communities, they render us unpopular. And therefore, we deserve to be protected by government.
Yeah, but how are you going to boycott the elections?
I don't think we'll boycott elections.
Okay.
But that will be irresponsible of us as an institution. We will be part of the elections.
Nkosi Mavuso, thank you very much. Deputy Chairperson of the National House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders.
You are listening to the Morning Brief.
The US government wants clarification on South Africa's policy on Iran following that publicized comments from the SA National Defense Force Chief General Ruzwani Mapanya during a trip to Iran. Military and defense analyst Helmut Hittman joins us now. Morning to you, Helmut.
Morning.
Is this the calm thing to do? Pick up the phone and say, oh, hold on a second, what exactly is going on here?
Look, I think it is. You know, our response has been we are sovereign, we can be friends with who we like, which is perfectly true, but then so can the Americans. And they look at Iran, they see it as a threat to an ally of theirs, Israel, They see it in the longer term as potentially a threat to themselves, certainly on the basis of what the Iranian leaders have been spouting, about the Great Satan and so on. So they basically, quite reasonably, I think, want to say, okay, are you guys allying yourself with Iran, or was that a one-off fluke? And they can turn around and say, okay, well, if you're an ally of Iran, you're no friend of ours, and we terminate trade, for argument's sake. If they want to do it. It'd be silly to do it, but they might. Legally, of course, they could.
This trip was originally scheduled to be last year. It was postponed. Then it happened this year. The president's saying it was ill-advised. The timing was wrong. Would you agree with that?
Look, bluntly, I think the whole relationship with Iran is ill-advised. Iran is economically and strategically relevant to us. The United States and the major Western countries are economically critical to us. The trip itself, well, it was within the context of the foreign policy as enunciated by government in terms of what it's said and what it's done. The trip was not out of line with foreign policy. And even what the general said, if you look at it, people say generals don't talk politics. They don't talk party politics. A general visiting an allied country often makes polite noises like "we stand with you" and all that stuff. So I think the trip was ill-advised within the context of a totally ill-advised strategy in the first place. But I don't for a moment believe that General Mafania went off on a little jolly all by himself and said things that hadn't been cleared ahead of time. That's not his nature as I know him. I think what's happened is the trip was postponed, then went ahead as planned, as intended, and as he had been briefed. And then somebody in cabinet woke up far too late and said, oh, dang, this is exactly the same time we have people in Washington trying to say how nice we are. So now what do? Well, we turn the general into our human sacrifice. It wasn't us, it was him. I don't for a moment believe he did it by himself. I'm absolutely convinced the cabinet knew he was going and what he was going to say.
That was going to be one of my questions. They say that Angie Motshekga is saying that the whole thing has been blown out of proportion. It was scheduled, it was approved. So the conversation that nobody knew about this trip, first of all, is not true. She also goes on to say it has nothing to do with anything wrong with what we've done. It's just a very toxic space we find ourselves in. Do you think that's the message we want to be sending to the States?
Look, it's... so as a brief digression, I will say one positive thing about our Minister of Defense. She actually is standing by her man, which is unusual for politicians. But look, the relationship with Iran is, as with a couple of other countries, is strange. There's no benefit to South Africa at all. Iran is no more a friend of ours than anybody else's. Countries don't have friends, they have interests. What's unfortunate about it is that it's toxic to our relationship with Western powers. And not just that, but it's toxic to our relationship with most of the Gulf states. Saudi, where we get half of our oil, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Oman, none of them like Iran. They all regard it as a threat. Even Pakistan, the other side, regards Iran with a lot of suspicion and a little bit as a threat. So what we're doing is sidling up to somebody, aligning ourselves with someone whom almost nobody else likes, whom almost pretty much everybody regards as a threat at some level, to no benefit, which is weird.
We have to leave it there. Helmut Hittman, military and defense analyst. Thank you very much. What do you make of that? Give us a call, 086 000 2032. Time for sport.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
It's a very good morning to you. We head straight to Mackay, and the Proteas off to a steady start in the second ODI against Australia. After losing early wickets, Tony de Zorzi has steadied the innings with 34 off 26 balls, well supported by Matthew Brietzke on 23 not out. The Proteas are 65 for 2 after nearly 12 overs, having chosen to bat first. Now, Javier Bartlett, he struck twice early for Australia, removing Ryan Rickleton for 8 and Aidan Markram for a duck. Now South Africa lead the 3-match series 1-0 after their win in the opener earlier this week. Staying with cricket, the 2027 Cricket World Cup local organising committee board chairperson Trevor Manuel has urged the members to make sure the event is a memorable experience. Cricket South Africa announced a 15-member board, including 6 independent non-executive directors and 5 non-independent as well as non-executive directors and 3 exco members. South Africa will host the bulk of the matches, while Zimbabwe and Namibia will also come in a bit of a cameo role. Now, Sports Minister Gayton McKenzie, who officially announced the board, admitted that there's a few touch-ups to be done.
We've hosted a Soccer World Cup, but there's no country in the world that hosts any event without touch-ups also. You go to countries in the world, America now, they are busy preparing for the Soccer World Cup and the Olympics. What I must add is what's important for people to know about the Government of National Unity is that one of the KPIs that I have is that we must bring big events to South Africa. But our country, South Africa, if I have to give another name for South Africa, is cometh the hour, cometh the man. Cometh the man, cometh the hour. South Africa always, when it is necessary for South Africa to rise to the occasion, it never fails.
Let's go to the MTN 8 encounter with Orlando Pirates and Mamelodi Sundowns. They'll battle for a place in the final. They meet in tomorrow's semi-final second leg at the Lucas Moripe Stadium. The tie finally poised after a 1-1 draw in the first leg, meaning Pirates must score at least once away from home to advance. Sundowns unbeaten in all competitions, but they will be without captain Themba Zwane through injury. In the meantime, the Sekhukhune United coach Eric Tinkler admitting overturning a 2-0 deficit against Stellenbosch FC in the MTN 8 semi-final will be a massive challenge. Although they have 1 foot out the cup, they are trailing. Tinkler maintains that their determination is to win silverware.
It was an objective that we set ourselves at the beginning of the season to try and go all the way, get to MTN 8 final. So obviously the players understand the importance of trying to turn the results around tomorrow for a club like Sekhukhune to actually win a cup. That will obviously just add history to what the club has already achieved over the past 4 or 5 seasons. I think since I've been here, we've broken a number of records, and hopefully we can continue doing that. So that is the objective.
In the meantime, Stellenbosch FC will also not be parking the bus in their MTN 8 semi-final second legs against Sekhukhune United. Coach Steve Barker will not be willing to answer questions about their league form, which has not been all too inspiring by their own standards.
So we've got ambitions to win the league, there's no doubt in my mind, but I do know to win the league you also need to progress each and every year, and we're showing the right progression. We just got to hope maybe a team like Sundowns doesn't get above 70 points. If they're sort of in the lower region, in the lower 60s, then anything is possible.
And finally, rugby. The Wallabies will be without inspirational number 8 and skipper Harry Wilson for tomorrow's rugby championship match. And that's against the Springboks in Cape Town. Wilson appeared to hurt himself while scoring his second try at Ellis Park. And Rugby Australia confirmed that he is being managed. Wilson's omission leaves a gaping hole in Australia's pack just a week after he spearheaded that win over South Africa. And that's where we shall leave it for now. We'll tackle the sport at the top of the hour. I'm Sai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, Parliament's ad hoc committee established to look into allegations of threats to national security will meet again today to further discuss its terms of reference. The committee was established following explosive allegations by the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, of serious corruption in the criminal justice system. President Cyril Ramaphosa, holding bilateral talks with the Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, says South Africa is open for trade with countries willing to invest here. He met Ishiba on the margins of the Tokyo International Conference on African Development. And a New York State Appeals Court has thrown out an almost $500 million penalty a judge ordered Donald Trump pay after finding that he fraudulently overstated the value of his assets and exaggerated his wealth to bolster his family business. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM. guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
It started so well this morning on the M1 through Midrand, but it's gone completely the wrong way. Crash scenes now at Olifantsfontein, southbound at Olifantsfontein, so that's slow coming through from Old Joburg Road, and then northbound before Olifantsfontein. If you're on your way to Pretoria, that's a pretty heavy backlog from Allendale Road as well. Crash opposite the airport on the R21 highway near Voortrekker. That's jamming both ways, northbound into the scene, but also southbound coming through from Pomona Road. If you're approaching the airport, there's a whole pile of traffic in your way this morning. N3 from Elands up through Galulis is heavy. The N17 Brakpan through Boksburg remains under pressure due to just a single lane for roadworks. Lights are out on Pretoria East, Solomon Mshlangu and Delphi. That's quite heavy if you're leaving Pretoria East, if you like, on Solomon Mshlangu driving westbound. Durban's N2 jam-packed for a Friday between the M7 and Westwood Mall up through the roadworks. The M4 around Virginia Airport's quite slow both ways, and a lot of pressure around Cape Town this morning in the Brackenfell area. Brackenfell Boulevard towards the M1 highway, about as heavy as it gets. Okavango Road south of the M1 coming down past Cape Gate, that's also heavy. That's quite an unusual queue as well. The R300 from Kales River up towards the M1 through Brackenfell, quite busy. And there's just been a crash on the N2 inbound near Robert Sobukwe, so some delays backing up from the airport as you come in towards that scene. Also crash at Hilbeson on the N1 inbound, starting to slow things coming off Plattercliff Hill. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
And it's good morning again to Ntaling Lechela. Exoro has some numbers out this morning, Ntaling.
That's right, John. The coal miner has had an upbeat interim period, reporting an 8% increase in revenue and 13% jump in earnings. Now, this was driven by improved volumes and higher price realizations in the coal business, which helped offset weaker commodity prices. The group CEO, Ben Makara, who has been at the helm for about 4 months, added that cost-cutting measures and operational gains also gave Exoro a boost. The company has also made progress in its transition to a low-carbon future, signing a memorandum of understanding with Eskom to reduce emissions and reaching financial close of its Karibosh renewable energy project. And then looking ahead, Exoro is positioning itself for growth across multiple commodities, including manganese, copper, and renewables, with coal still remaining its core business.
And what's happening with PPC? Is something in Zimbabwe?
That's right, John. Now, the cement maker has pocketed 530 million rands. This as its Zimbabwean unit sold 418-hectare Arlington estate in Harare to a local private developer. The land was initially acquired in 1990 but was seized by the government in 2010 during Zimbabwe's land reform program. After a prolonged dispute, PPC Zimbabwe regained ownership of the property late last year, with the government handing over the title deed. Now, PPC intends to use the sale proceeds according to its capital priorities and balance sheet targets. The buyer plans to develop the site into a mixed-use hub and has agreed to source cement exclusively from PPC for future developments, potentially generating additional revenue for the company. Now, to finalize the deal, PPC Zimbabwe needs approval from the Reserve Bank of that country to declare a special dividend and then transfer the funds to South Africa. PPC Zimbabwe has recorded the book value of Arlington Estate as 37 million rands. The sale marks the end of a long-standing issue for PPC Zimbabwe, which had been trying to recover the property for over a decade.
And what's happening on the markets this morning?
Kicking things off in Asia, markets trading mixed, with investors looking ahead to Fed Chair Jay Powell's speech later today. The Shanghai Composite seems to be defying the odds. Despite the cautious mood, it's up over 0.7% this hour. Similar action playing out in Wall Street, with futures flat. Investors in the US also eyeing commentary from Powell. And then back at home, trade was positive overnight, with the all-share gaining 0.7%. The rand, however, trailing behind this morning, hit by a stronger dollar. It's at 17.74 to the greenback. And then over in the commodities scene, oil remains steady, just above $66 per barrel.
Ntaling Lechela, thank you very much. More business in an hour's time.
SA Sport Awards reflect our collective nation-building spirit. Mzansi's sport heroes and heroines have shown resilience, persistence, passion, discipline, and world-class achievements in the sports fraternity. Let us celebrate #Izinja Zegame. Catch the 18th Annual SA Sport Awards on Sunday, 24 August at 7:30 p.m. on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, then on SABC 1 at 8 p.m. Brought to you by the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture in partnership with SASSCOG and SABC Sport. Celebrating sporting excellence.
Outsurance will do all they can to save you money on your car insurance premium. But what if they just can't? Well, they'll give you cash just for trying. That's right, just ask for 500 Rand cash. But wait, there's more. If you don't save and have been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years, you can ask for 1,500 Rand cash. Savings or cash, you always get something out.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands.
What does you always get something out mean to you, Lorette?
Outsurance made it possible for us to live our dream to travel more with the money in our pocket that we save.
Let me know, what is it?
725. It was unbelievable. My husband, he sits there on the chair and he's just nodding his head and say, yes, yes, yes. This is really not just an advertisement. This is really real.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Take phone calls in a second. I'm looking forward to our next conversation coming up after we take some calls about how community media is changing. Hyper-local is a word that's used for some of this community media. It's very focused, very small community, but with digital now, it can reach the globe, and they're having to change quite significantly, and they're redefining what community means. We're going to talk to a researcher at Code for Africa about that. Now, though, let's take calls. 086 000 2032. Bongani, you want to talk about Mkunazi? Go ahead.
Yes, good morning, John and SAFM listeners. Look, not to rebuke or lambast the Lieutenant General, but to note the crucial important factors that lead to the high employment rate in South Africa. The primary contradiction to this, John, is the neoliberal policy framework that we have embarked on as a country, which hinders South Africa to industrialize, and also the obscure bilateral agreement that South Africa has entered into with the mass production producing countries that import finished goods in South Africa. And finally, John, the lesser the workers are earning, is the lesser they have impact on the economy by being impactful players in the market. Therefore, that lessens our GDP, which therefore hinders the expansion and the development of new markets, which will therefore expand our GDP in the country. It is important what you have said, because now it will stimulate the debate that will talk about the economical contradiction and the imperatives that need to be frustrated even on this dialogue that is ongoing in the country.
All right, Bongani with his views on what's creating unemployment. Faisal, you want to talk about crime in the Eastern Cape? Go ahead.
Yes, not only Eastern Cape, morning, John. Not only Eastern Cape, John. This crime is all over. But I can tell you, yeah, John, you are under siege. I've never seen, I travel in many, many countries. What I've seen, what you're observing, last week, about every month, 3-4 people have been hijacked. One Pakistani guy, even the man is a foreigner. So total, they killed him. He was shot 8 times. You know, they take him and they dump his body behind Tamaka police station. Can you imagine? And now, I've got the news now this morning, all the ATMs, with 2 ATMs by the shopping complex, what the poor people are going to do, those ATM has been ripped off. You see, Johnny, in the olden days, there was a saying that crime does not pay. I think now in South Africa, crime does pay. And people are doing it. Impunity, nothing can be done. Daytime, person is shot in the city center, nothing happened. The question is, what are the duties of these policemen? The policemen have been employed. That's the work of the police. We don't blame. The community also to take blame, should take self-this blame about this thing. But I can tell you, John, that if this, I'm shocked The way I'm looking at the government, I'm not a politician, I don't like to intervene in politics. The government, it seems as if they got no solution. All the commissioners and all that, no one is carrying on. Not only I say not in South Africa, in Cape Town, how many people have been killed? Have been killed daily, in Johannesburg, all over.
Yep, it's something we talk about all the time, Faisal. We bring up crime all the time. Faisal in the Eastern Cape going on about crime. Yeah, it's a big issue. And then, Crispin, you want to talk about Operation Dudula? Go ahead.
Yeah, John, you had Korani Zuma, apparently legal advisor. Do legal advisors have the right publicly to misrepresent the law? I mean, should they be struck off the roll if they've got if they're an actual lawyer? For example, he said, March and March have the right to make a citizen arrest in cases of finding an undocumented foreigner. Nonsense. Complete, absolute nonsense. Here it is. You can arrest someone if you have reasonable grounds to suspect they've committed a crime listed in Schedule 1. Public violence, murder, rape, theft, or fraud. Okay, so in reality, they're not making citizen arrests.
But
reality,
surely if you have illegal documents, then it is fraud?
Well, how do they know it's illegal? I mean, what evidence do they have that it's illegal?
Well,
Somebody comes up with a document.
They're a suspect, so then they go to the police with the person, and the police do the investigation.
Yeah, you can go to report them. You've got absolutely no right to call somebody off because you find they've got a document. I mean, you decide it's illegal. So this is all about vigilante groups imposing their will on South Africans and everyone else. So the guy actually said, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, but you repeated what I'm about to say to you now, that no one has been denied medical attention. That is complete and absolute nonsense. I myself was not only denied medical attention by them physically, they pushed me back when I tried to go in because I refused to produce a South African ID.
Right.
No, and I'm saying that the video of me being denied arrest in this way and being pushed back was actually shown on national television.
Oh, okay.
Now, I don't know which universe this guy lives in.
Yeah. That's why I asked the question again, just to make sure. So when he says no one was denied, you personally, Crispin, have been denied medical access?
Absolutely, but I've seen so many people in front of me.
Yes.
People being physically pushed back, people just being told you can't come here. And then this thing about emergency medical attention. When this group at Addington Hospital see people coming towards them whom they regard as looking like foreigners,
right,
they start shouting, you can't come in.
Yep.
There's not one single process about attempting medically to examine who needs emergency medical attention or not.
Okay, Crispin, sorry, we need to leave it there. We're out of time. Crispin, thank you very much for your views.
You are listening to John Gericka on SFM.
Let's talk about community media for a little while. They're aiming to shift from what is called hyperlocal coverage, and they're using digital storytelling now to redefine what community means. Dr. Sandra Roberts, a researcher at Code for Africa, to explain this to us. Sandra, thank you, or Doctor, thank you very much for joining us. What's the difference between hyperlocal and what is happening now with the digital technology we can use?
Well, community media has always been media by the community, for the community. But now we're finding a lot more community media that are more interested in specific topics, so more environmental coverage. Gender has always been a big thing, but we're getting community media specifically set up for gendered coverage.
When we talk about community, do we mean an area, which I think maybe was the traditional way of doing it, and you would focus on your neighborhood or in your township or whatever the case may be, and now it's more about specific topics, a bit like Reddit, I guess, would be on the internet?
Yes. Topic or community specific, as in like a community of interest, has always been a part of community media. I always think about High FM in this regard, that serves Jewish South Africans, which is a community station. But when we looked at community media, we excluded local publications that are owned by big media companies. And I'm thinking about the Caxton papers here. They're typically not what we'd consider community media, but small independent publications would be.
So, I mean, we're talking podcasts here, or are we talking generally like broadcasting facilities, newsletters and those kind of things?
Podcasts are now part of the environment. We were looking more at people that consider themselves community media because they were the people that responded to the survey.
Mm-hmm.
And they would be, on the broadcast side, it would be radio and TV with community license, community media broadcast licenses, which run as non-profits. But you do get small independent companies that run as profits, but they serve a specific community. But they tend to run independently on a smaller scale.
Can you include social media as a part of community media? I'm thinking, Instagram. If somebody starts an Instagram account and starts giving out news, or a WhatsApp news group, those kind of
media is a political or influence platform. We're talking about people that are committed to covering the community.
Part of the problem is fake news. How is community media overcoming the issue about fake news or biased news?
It's difficult because there's a lot of influence campaigns running on community level. I think you see it a bit in South Africa, where you get quite a polarized local government and local political environment. But the point of community media is to serve the community. So they should be serving in the interest of the community. And you do get community media that are because people are interested in things like service delivery. They report on the experiences of the community and the service delivery issues.
What's the future of community media? Is it growing, or is it going to die out because of these, as you say, these huge corporations that are trying to be local?
I don't think huge corporations are the prime threat to community media. I think we have to be very clear that community media serve a public service. They should be protected, and that's why we have the MDDA to provide funding for them. What's the biggest threat is, like with mainstream media too, is big tech companies that take most of the advertising profit whilst kind of parasiting off the work of the media.
We have to leave it there. Dr. Sandra Roberts, a researcher at Code for Africa. Fascinating views. We could talk about that for days.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. If you're coming up into Joburg, Rod has just been on the jam line. Good to hear from you, Rod, after a couple of years. The N3 very heavily backed up into Heidelberg, into the Weybridge. Now, you've normally got the trucks parked up there waiting to get off at the Weybridge, but it's causing delays. The trucks are across both lanes. So if you're a motorist coming up into Heidelberg, having come through the Hook Plaza, you're not going to get through there. There's a backlog of about 4 Ks of trucks to work through. The N17 out of Brakpan towards Boksburg, down towards Rondebolt Road's heavy into Roadworks, single lane open. R21 crash at Voortrekker, both ways is heavy. If you're going to the airport, if you're leaving the airport, big queues into that Voortrekker Road exit. The crash is on the northbound, so that's slightly heavier, but southbound getting caught in that as well. Crash going north through Midrand towards Pretoria before Olifantsfontein. That's heavy from New Road. All that volume coming southbound, which isn't as bad or high as normal, is getting caught having a look at it. So southbound from sort of Samram down through towards New Road stays pretty busy as well. Durban's N2 North still jamming from the M7 up through Westwood Mall. Don't forget this weekend's closure of the N3. It goes in 4:30 on Saturday afternoon and stays closed right across the weekend from Pavilion Mall right through to the M7 at Pinetown. A full closure. It's going to be a crazy weekend trying to negotiate local diversions around that one. And Cape Town, no traffic lights on the busy Friday busy Somerset West N2. The lights are down at Onvervach, so queuing traffic both ways through there. And if you're driving inbound from the airport, a little issue just before the N7 Jakes Kerville Drive, which is pushing a queue back towards that airport exit. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Spar brings you super savings. Get 100-gram Danone Nutri-Day Smooth Yogurt, 6-pack, buy any two for 32 Rand, plus 100 megs free data on Spar Mobile, or 4 kg Spar IQF chicken, mixed portions for 159.99, plus 400 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Plus, you could win your share of 6 million Rand in instant cash. Prices valid until 24 August 2025, while stocks last. T's and C's apply.
Bafana Bafana will host Nigeria in a FIFA 2026 World Cup qualifier at the Toyota Stadium on Tuesday, 9 September at 6 p.m. Tickets are now available nationwide and online from 70 Rand for adults and 40 Rand for children at all Ticket Pro outlets, including Spar, Postnet, and all petrol stations. Get your tickets early to avoid disappointment. Come in Bafana Bafana supporter gear, ready to sing for a win. Gates will open at 3 p.m. If you are not in Bloemfontein, catch the game on SABC2. For more information, visit safa.net and at Bafana Bafana on all social media channels.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
SAFM. Prime time all day long.
There have been a couple of reports about master services agreements. Agreement with SASSA grants is expiring, but they say it's unfortunate and not necessarily valid. PostBank assures all SASSA beneficiaries that they will get their grants through PostBank's black cards and their gold cards as well. Tami Cele is PostBank Chief Commercial Officer. Tami, good morning to you. Everybody okay? Everybody going to get their money this month?
Good morning, John, and good morning to the listeners. And thank you for the opportunity. Yes, everyone gets their grant as always, as we've done consistently without delays. It really is an unfortunate announcement coming out of SASSA and the Social Development Department, because this has been a conversation we've been having. So we're surprised that it is in the public environment already. But I think we have to assure the public, we have to assure the grant recipients that this does not impact their grant.
So where are these reports coming from that MSA's contract's expiring?
As I said, John, this is a conversation that we are having, with SASSA. This is meant to be a closed-door conversation. So we are surprised that it's been brought to the public. We do think that it maybe has to do with some parliamentary questions that would have been answered. But we understand that this is a decision of the Social Development together with SASSA. But I think what we're saying here, which is far more critical, is really that the beneficiaries are not impacted at all around us.
There are also reports that black and gold cards have to change their banking methods. Is that right?
I must re-emphasize this, that this does not require, cardholders to change their cards or change their banking details. All we're saying is that the card that you have, the black card, PostBank black card, the gold card, they will continue to operate. There is no need for that. This is misinformation that is naturally coming out that we do not believe beneficiaries should be listening to. In fact, what we are finding is that those beneficiaries that would have moved as a result of that are actually asking to come back. And so we are trying to avoid a similar situation, because that's what could create a disruption by changing your banking details, mid-payment cycle. So we discourage this very strongly. We believe this is a misinformation. This shouldn't, be heeded by the public.
All right. So, Tami Cele, as the COO of PostBank, you're happy everybody will get their money. Nothing changes. Just carry on going about it. Ignore all the noise that's happening in the background.
Everything is fine. Ignore the noise in the background. Our conversation, even if, let's say, John, that MSA does end, the impact on the grant recipients is not going to be there. Of course, it does mean that SASSA, by ending that MSA, they are effectively saying they are no longer willing to pay for the fees that they have been paying on behalf of the beneficiaries. That's the most important element, which means effectively that a beneficiary may not get 100% of their grant due to fees. When previously, SASSA, over the last 5 years, 6 years, they have been paying those fees. That's where the MSA hinges on. It's the cost of getting your grant, which then, of course, gets to mean that based on the feedback from SASSA, they're basically indicating that the beneficiary must be the one that pays, as opposed to what they've done over the last couple of years.
And quickly, I know, Tommy, that you want to get a message across if somebody's lost their card or it's been stolen. What should we do?
And of course, it's important because I think there's also been reports that we are no longer issuing cards. What we are saying is that if your card is lost and stolen, both the black card as well as the gold card, we are saying you make your way to the retailer, the retailer sites like the Pick and Pays, the Boxers, the Spar, and of course the ShopRite, and you can get a replacement of your card if it is lost or stolen. And also both the gold card or the PostBank black card, because both those cards, John, are PostBank cards. I think that's important that it be stated.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Tammy Tlele, thank you very much. PostBank's Chief Commercial Officer, helping us out with that. You will get your SASSA grants. Everything is okay, they say. It's 8 o'clock.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Time to switch and save. Call 08600 60,000 today.
In our top stories, ad hoc committee probing Mkwanazi allegations to discuss terms of reference and South Africa ready to partner with Japan. Good morning. Parliament's ad hoc committee established to look into allegations of threats to national security will meet again today to further discuss its terms of reference. The committee was established following explosive allegations by the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkwanazi, of serious corruption in the criminal justice system. Among others, Mkwanazi alleged that some of the most senior officials in the South African Police Service are involved in corruption, and that the police minister, Senzo Mchunu, who has been placed on special leave, is associated with criminal syndicates. Last week, the committee sat for nearly 10 hours exploring the terms of reference. Zaylene Merrington reports.
Among others, the committee concluded that Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkwanazi will be the first witness to appear before it. His testimony may inform additional persons that the committee may decide to call. In the light of the high levels of danger surrounding whistleblowers, the committee also concluded that it will assess risks involved when calling people to appear. It is expected that the committee will today finalize and adopt the terms of reference.
The Nkosi of the Amangamalala Traditional Council, Simpiwe Zuma, is expected to apply for bail in the Howick Magistrates Court in KwaZulu-Natal today in connection with the murder of the Mgeni Municipality Chief Whip, Nhlalayenza Ndlovu. Ndlovu was murdered at his home in December 2023. The case was remanded last week because the magistrate who was to hear the bail application was sick. DA leaders and members have been following court proceedings after the party offered a reward for the arrest of Ndlovu's murderers. Africa leader Mmusi Maimane says the party is in talks with a number of parties on possible consolidation ahead of next year's local government elections. Maimane says the party has learned through previous elections that the fragmentation of multiple political entities at local level do not serve citizens. He was speaking at a briefing in Rosebank in Johannesburg yesterday.
But then when you look at the potential of the aggregation, the sum of the parts, there's a risk that the dark horse that comes from this side, with just a few votes extra, which we could have beaten if we clubbed together, wins the ward and we struggle. It's a tactical response to saying you don't want elements of populists who are unconstitutionalists winning via the back door.
President Cyril Ramaphosa holding bilateral talks with the Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba says South Africa is open for trade with countries willing to invest here. He met Ishiba on the margins of the Tokyo International Conference on African Development. President Ramaphosa is advancing South Africa's presidency of the G20 and enhancing bilateral economic engagements with the government of Japan. He says South Africa welcomes anyone who wants to invest in the country.
Japan has been in South Africa and investing in South Africa for years. And China has been our friend as well and is also investing. And we welcome both because both are beneficial to us. And we will never say, no, we love you better than we love the other one. We embrace both. And both must invest and deal with us to the extent that they can.
A New York State Appeals Court has thrown out an almost $500 million penalty a judge ordered Donald Trump pay after finding that he fraudulently overstated the value of his assets and exaggerated his wealth to bolster his family business. The civil case was brought by New York State Attorney General Letitia James in 2022. Shawan Bryce Peace reports the guilty fraud verdict was upheld against Trump.
The decision by the 5-judge panel of the Appellate Division in Manhattan represented a defeat for New York Attorney General Letitia James, who brought the civil lawsuit against Trump in 2022. State Court Judge Arthur N. Goron found Trump inflated his wealth over several years before becoming president in 2017 to obtain better terms from banks and insurance providers for the Trump Organization. While the appeals judges disagreed with the severe penalty, calling it an excessive fine, they declined to overturn the fraud conviction, which is likely to proceed to a higher court on appeal. Trump was also convicted in a separate Manhattan criminal case last year.
Recapping the top story, Parliament's ad hoc committee established to look into allegations of threats to national security will meet again today to further discuss its terms of reference. The committee was established following explosive allegations by KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Commissioner Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi of serious corruption in the criminal justice system. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Visit outsurance.co.za today. You always get something out.
Outsurance is simply the best at ensuring you always get something out. Outsurance scored 9.99 on the Hello Peter Trust Index, a near 5-star rating on Google Reviews, and have outperformed their personal best in the number of complaints referred to the Ombudsman per 1,000 claims. Switch for low prices and service you can trust. Visit outsurance.co.za today and see how you can get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM Sports headlines. Cricket action underway. Proteas 108 for 3 after 21 overs in the second ODI, and that's against Australia. And soccer, Bafana coach Hugo Bruges has included 13 Orlando Pirates players in the squad to take on Lesotho and Nigeria in the World Cup qualifiers. Details just before 8:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Traffic highlights include a crash on Midrand's N1 North driving through to Pretoria this morning. The crash just before Olifantsfontein Road. It's a heavy backlog down to Allendale. That's heading towards Pretoria. Motorists heading to Joburg, getting caught having a look. So delays coming through from Samrand towards New Road. Crash on the R21 opposite the airport. It's northbound by Four-Tracker. That's heavy. But there's also, again, a big backlog coming south towards the airport due to the onlooking factor. Crash on the Mike 1 South near Corlett Drive. Delays from Sandton and the N17 out of Brakpan to Boksburg, still heavy into that single lane roadwork section. Durban's N2 North remains under pressure from Westwood Mall up to from the M7 up to Westwood Mall via Spaghetti Junction. That's on the northbound. Southbound, there's a bit of backlogging going on from Umgeda Road down into 4-level Spaghetti Junction. That looks like possibly a broken down vehicle or something's crashed there. Cape Town, no traffic lights on the busy N2 out through Somerset West at Onverwacht Road. Big volumes because it's Friday, so delays both ways. And the N2 inbound queuing towards the N7 Jakes Kervell Drive exit. That's pushing a queue back to the airport. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
9 minutes past 8. John Gericke in for Tulas. Good morning to you. I said at the top of the show, can we start the weekend already? One of my colleagues WhatsApped me to say, yeah, it's the weekend. So we're going to call it, that's 2, right? So if 2 out of 60 million can agree that it's the weekend, and I think that's official now. It's the start of the weekend. And we're talking football in a little while. MTN 8 semi-finals, Sundowns against Pirates coming up, Sekhukhune against Stellenbosch. Can Pirates do thing in Pretoria? Can Stellenbosch do a thing away against Sekhukhune as well? We'll talk about that, but we'll talk Sekhukhune top the table, all right? Just so you know. They're top of the table on goal difference. Thank you very much. Kaizer Chiefs in second place, Sundowns in third, also on goal difference. So it's tight at the moment, and we're going to talk about that later on in the program. And also coming up in the show, we're going to talk to Etuba. They are talking about misleading and factually incorrect information regarding the legitimacy of winners in the lotto. And then we'll finish off the program and we'll talk to Eskom. They are looking for what they're calling a competitive future energy industry, transitioning its generation mix from coal to a whole host of other sources, and they're hoping to do that all by 2040. We'll talk to the acting group executive of distribution at Eskom. All of that's coming up. It's 10 past 8.
SAFM Music. Good times, good memories.
I'm just like somebody.
Old school sounding so good. SAFM Music with you wherever you go.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Time for phone calls at 11 minutes past 8. Kwanele, you want to talk about Operation Dudula? Go ahead.
Yes, I do. John, there's a caller that likes to call in Crispin every morning when we're talking about Operation Dudula and other concerned groups of South African citizens fighting against the abuse of limited state or South African resources. John, I am convinced that Crispin is being paid by somebody to call in every morning to bash Operation Dudula. And the one thing that the likes of Crispin have is time and money to call in and want to run their propaganda and shape our ideas, what is considered normal. What also, disturbs me about Crispin is that he'll be drawing on all sort of historical, facts and also, distorting them so that it legitimizes what he thinks. The other day he was calling, saying that Chief Albert Luthuli would be appalled if he were to go to a hospital now because he would be turned away by Operation Dudula based on the fact that he was born in Zimbabwe. And he neglects the fact that Chief Albert Luthuli was a South African, a Zulu man, born to a South African mother and a South African father. So he will draw every single thing, to justify his views, which is incorrect. It shouldn't be allowed. Crispin, what you are doing is incorrect, and I'm sure you are one of those who are renting out your homes to foreign illegals so that you can draw a salary or money and sustain your lifestyle. He's got time and money, which the majority of poor South Africans don't have because they are facing serious hardships. They're unemployed, they can't access schools, they can't access health care. But Crispin is busy going to all these places to investigate what's happening, and then because he's treating it as a social experiment, he comes here and talks non-stop.
Kwanele with an attack on Crispin. Let's go to Matt. You want to talk about the police lieutenant general? Go ahead.
Hi, good day to you, John, and your listeners. I just wanted to say that I feel like this whole issue that Mkwanazi mentioned is being taken out of context. Was he talking about unemployment across the board or the reason why crime increases, which is due to the number of police officers being reduced from 21,000 to around 19,000? And that is because of the unions. Not like entirely unemployment across the board, as in like why we have high unemployment rate.
Yeah, the way I heard, or the way I understood it, was he was talking about the police. People moaning that there's high crime and there's not enough police on the ground.
Yeah, so I feel like people are just kept blowing this thing out of proportion and now thinking that is insinuating that there's high unemployment because of unions, you know. And then another thing I just wanted to say, I agree with the previous caller. We should be patriotic about our country. The people defending illegal immigrants surely have illegal migrants or immigrants as workers in their homes, or they own some NGOs, because this doesn't make sense. If we want to get rid of criminals, we shouldn't defend criminals. We should say something. We shouldn't feel like we are being loyal because we have these people working for us that are doing good for us and all that in our homes or in our businesses. So basically, we feel like we are being attacked. We wore masks at some point. If we have to take our IDs to show that we are South Africans to access public services, let us do that, and then we get rid of people who are not South Africans or people who are here illegally, accessing the same benefits as we are. It's only going to be a few years until now we go back to normal. Who would have thought that we wouldn't be wearing masks in a few years? Less than 5 years, we're no longer wearing masks. It's a thing of the past now. So I think this is possible. We can do this. That's all from me.
All right, Matt. Let's go to Matthew in KwaZulu-Natal. You want to talk about Donald Trump, Matthew?
Yes, morning. How are you?
Lekker.
You know, in 2002, I watched a video on TikTok where this man preached and prophesied that after Donald Trump got impeached, in 2024, he will be elected president again because God wants it. God put Donald Trump here to ruin the world. So people now are looking forward to Donald Trump. Please help us. Please stop this. But they forgot about God. So that is why God wants the people now to go back and ask God for help, not Donald Trump.
Okay, Matthew. All right, Matthew. Mike in Newlands, go ahead.
Yeah, no, good morning, John. I just want to have a little chuckle at the unions suggesting that the Lieutenant General stay in his lane. The unions have been out of their lane and involved in politics ever since the day dot. So they mustn't tell the General to stay in the lane. The unions are a business. I dealt with the unions for 35 years. And I'm telling you, these union leaders, they earn up to 150,000 Rand a month. I had to lose 40 jobs in my business because I couldn't afford the salaries that the unions demanded. They threatened to put me out of business, so I mechanized. I lost 40 jobs, 40 people lost their jobs, should I say, and the unions didn't give a damn about that. And if you want to look at the top of the pile, I would suggest you look at Skalani George. Your listeners will be unsurprised to hear that he earns more than the president. He's a union member. He earns 4.3 million Rand a month, John. That's 358,000 Rand will go ding in his bank account at the end of this month. That's how much he earns. That's what the unions have got now.
How much you say he's earning?
He earns 4.3 million Rand a month. He is the Secretary General of Parliament. Skalani George. I would urge you just to Google it, and you will see I'm 100% right. I actually spoke to him on SAFM, and he didn't even seem slightly embarrassed with the fact he earned so much money. But, John, you know, these morally corrupt unions have been in bed with the morally corrupt ANC, and I want to just leave it's the weekend, so a little bit of good news. There is light at the end of the tunnel. I see a poll recently that the ANC, with their fellow travellers, the unions, would only get 20% today in Gauteng if there was an election today. So I think South Africa can at least take a deep breath, and hopefully we'll be rid of the unions and the ANC in the not-too-distant future. Have a great weekend, John.
Mike in Newlands with the cat. The pigeons are splattering everywhere. Peter, you want to talk about March and March? What's your view?
Morning, John. How's it?
Lekker.
Look, I want to talk about two things. One is the first guy who was talking about Iranian relations. I just want to share a perspective. Look, it's a very funny thing that the guy goes on and talks about Saudi Arabia, oil, and what have you. And Saudi Arabia, we all know, has ties to the United States. And when he goes on and talks about we don't benefit from Iran, Iran is part of BRICS. And BRICS is Brazil, Russia, South Africa, and China. And all of those relations are because people want to stay away from the United States. So when he's saying that we don't need relationships with Iran, he needs to actually go look back and review his own statement. And then On the thing about South Africa in general, with the March on March and everything that you have with Operation Dudula, I'd like just people to understand that there's nothing that happens without. In order to understand something, you need to understand history, you need to understand context, and you need to understand other things that are going on in the world. Well, Ngani said a very interesting thing when he talked about neoliberal capitalism and neoliberal movements going on in the world. South Africa has been doing the same thing, and if you look at all the countries that have followed the same steps, they are crying about unemployment and they're crying about immigration. This is an economic thing and it's a class thing, and I'd like to urge South Africans to go look into neoliberal capitalism and neoliberal ideologies and theories and all those countries that follow the same principles, what they are going through. What's happening in all those places that these people are coming from, Dudula is a spokesperson. That person is probably paid money. That's a job that they're getting. If you look at all these places that Dudula is operating on, it's the poor class, and it's the poor calling them a poor working class is actually not fair enough. It's the poor non-working class. So what's happening in South Africa is a class war, and people need to wake up to what's going on. That's all I'll say. Thank you, John. Cheers, have a good one.
I'm going to leave the phone calls there for now. I think we're going to take one or two more voice notes, and then we're going to go to our conversation about some football.
Good morning, John. With regards to the conversation you had with Kolani Zuma, the legal advisor for that vigilante group, March and March. One thing I don't understand is why are they targeting, illegal immigrants in healthcare centers? Because those illegal immigrants, if we are being realistic, they are probably domestic workers, cheap labor workers that we tend to employ. Who they should be targeting is the people who are actually operating as criminal syndicates illegally in our country, drug trafficking in our country. Those are the people they should be targeting, but they are cowards because they're targeting people who are weak. Daniel here in Bryanston.
Good morning, John. I get so frustrated with the callers, and these are the same people who have voted this government in all the time. Every time they just vote them in again, but yet they phone in to complain about the situation in South Africa. I mean, how crazy is that? You get what you vote for. So stop voting for the ANC. I mean, it can't be more simple than that.
Some of your voice notes, we'll take more. We have an opportunity later on in the show, but we're talking football after this.
Taifa Stars have a mandate to book a place in the semi-finals, but the Atlas Lions want to impress the Moroccans with a win. The East are up against the North. This is the quarter-final encounter of the Total Energies African Nations Championship 2024. Catch the glittering clash between Tanzania and Morocco this Friday, 22 August at 7 p.m. Live everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Luck could be on your side when you play Powerball and Powerball Plus for 69 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Friday. That's right. Play Powerball for an estimated 26 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 43 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old and play responsibly. eTuba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Get ready, South Africa! 12,000 athletes from every corner of the country will hit the ground running in the 5th edition of the Hollywoodbets Durban 10 Kilometer. A thrilling road race starting and finishing at Hollywoodbets Kingsmead Stadium. It's more than a race. It's all about community, good vibes, and rising to the challenge. Catch the action live on Saturday, 30th of August at 7 a.m. on SABC2, SABC Plus, and across SABC radio stations. #Let's run and feel the energy. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Stay on top of all meaningful, top trending stories right here on SAFM. Leading the conversation.
Plenty to talk about in football. Bafana squad, including just about all of the Orlando Pirates players and Sundowns players. More than half the squad making up from those two teams. And they meet this weekend. Pirates against Sundowns. They were finished 1-1 in the first leg at Orlando Stadium. Let's talk football with Nkululeko, massive co-founder of Idiski Media, football broadcaster as well. Nkululeko, mouth-watering 1-1, an away goal though for Sundowns. What's going to happen, do you think?
Good morning to everyone at SAFM. Good morning to you, John, as well. Yeah, it's a big fixture in South African football. The first leg was very, very delicious. It was Mamelodi Sundowns winning the first half of that first leg. In the second half, Orlando Pirates came to the party at home and they equalized. It's very tough to call. On Wednesday, both teams won their matches. Pirates against Stellenbosch, Mamelodi Sundowns against Mike AFC. I would say that they are evenly poised, although maybe Orlando Pirates took a few risks midweek because they played their best squad, whereas on the other side, Mamelodi Sundowns rested their players. It's a very tough one to call. All Sundowns needs basically is a 0-0 for them to go to the final. I wouldn't imagine that those two teams could play to a 0-0 draw. It's a very tough one to call. Sundowns at home, maybe being the strongest team in the country as well in terms of the squad depth, maybe you would tip in their favor. However, I would never rule Orlando Pirates out as well because they have quality players.
Just while we're at that, do you think Sundowns are going to be affected by the Lucas Ribeiro Costa issue that's happening now with him him saying that he's leaving the club, he's under contract? Do you think that's going to affect them at all?
It will affect them in the long run because Sundowns are always in the Champions League semi-finals and finals, but because Ribeiro is not there, I don't know. Like, my prediction would be that they won't win the Champions League because he was so instrumental to them getting to the final of the Champions League last season. In the context of these matches, the MTN 8, it's difficult to say because he hasn't been playing. He has not played at the beginning of the season in the league. They've won 2 matches, drawn 1 in the league, and they've won in the MTN 8. They drew against Orlando Pirates last week, so he hasn't featured at all. I would say that it would affect them if he had featured in these 5 or 6 matches so far this season, but he hasn't featured at all. Where it affects them is that they don't have his creativity, and he was a footballer of the season last season, so he's not playing. If he was playing, perhaps it would tip it further to Sundowns' favor, playing against Orlando Pirates, because he's been the decider in many of his matches. He scored a penalty against Pirates when they won in Orlando last year or 2 seasons ago. He's done that against Kaizer Chiefs as well. In big matches, he comes through, he becomes a difference maker. But in the context of this season, he hasn't featured, and Sundowns have won some matches, drawn some matches. They haven't lost yet. So it's difficult to say.
From a technical perspective, can the player just terminate his contract like this?
Well, I suppose you can terminate your contract, your employment contract, provided that you'll be able to compensate your employer for it. So
right.
If the employer, if it is found legally that as you terminate your contract, you owe them 10 million, and you do have the 10 million, for example, then you can do that, I suppose. Because if a football club is terminating a player's contract, they have to go to a tribunal, CCMA, to say, well, you still owe us 24 months of this contract, and you are paying us 300,000 per month, and therefore maybe a reasonable amount should be X, 30% of that or 50% of the remainder of the contract. And sometimes in other instances you have to pay the full extent of the contract. So I suppose he can do that if he's able to come with the price. But I don't even think that that's the point. I think that it's agitating for a move. I think it's what Alexander Isak is doing to Newcastle. It's not that Isak is actually fighting with Newcastle, although it will come across like that for Newcastle fans or for Sundowns fans. It seems like your player is fighting, but he's agitating for a move. He's speeding up the process because he understands all of these leagues are starting. All of the leagues all around the world that start in August, that they're now in their second week, and if Sundowns are dragging their feet to sell me, let me maybe agitate it to speed up the process. But I don't think that there's bad blood there. Yes, there is in terms of what's happening as we're seeing it, but I think that he is just trying to engineer a way to speed this up so that he gets to his next destination and be able to play, because the weeks are going on, and if maybe Sundowns were banking on a transfer window closing and then keeping him, what he's doing with his team and his agents is that he's engineering a situation where that is not a possibility.
And Kuleleko, we've got to talk about the other games. Zai's waiting to tell us about the other sport, but can Sekhukhune turn around a 2-0 deficit to Stellenbosch tomorrow?
Difficult one to turn around. It's 2-0, and Stellenbosch has just lost to Orlando Pirates midweek. Sekhukhune are winning matches. They've won 3 matches out of 3, just like Kaizer Chiefs in the league as well. So Sekhukhune they have a mountain to climb in that they're playing against a very good team in Stellenbosch. A draw or maybe a 1-0 win to Sekhukhune is still not good enough. I would imagine that it would be absurd for Stellenbosch to lose a 2-0 deficit, especially with Steve Barker and his good team. Even if they could lose 1-0, they would still be able to go to the final, in my opinion.
Kululeko Mkewa, thank you very much, co-founder of Idiski Media and a football broadcaster as well.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning. Thank you very much. We've got live action underway. South Africa continuing to build momentum in the second ODI against Australia. The Proteas are on 150 for 3 after 27 overs, scoring at 5.5 runs and over. Matthew Britsky remains the star of the innings, moving to 74 of 64 balls with 6 boundaries and 2 sixes. Tristan Stubbs steady at the other end on 30 not out. And earlier, Tony De Zorzi contributed 38 before falling to Adam Zampa, while captain Aiden Markram went without scoring, with the series already 1-0 up in South Africa's favour. The Proteas are setting up a strong platform, and that's for a big total. We go to soccer. Bafana coach Hugo Bruges has announced a 48-man preliminary squad for the upcoming World Cup qualifiers against Lesotho and Nigeria. Orlando Pirates lead the way with 13 inclusions. Among them, new star Kgamogelo Sebelebele and goalkeeper Sipho China. Now, Mamelodi Sundowns contribute 10 players, including skipper Ronwen Williams and Teboho Mokoena. There's also a first call-up for Amazulu goalkeeper Darren Johnson, son of former Bafana player and current coach Grant Johnson. Let's go to the MTN 8, where all eyes and ears will be on Lucas Modipa Stadium tomorrow at 3 p.m. when Mamelodi Sundowns host Orlando Pirates in the second leg of their semi-final. The tie finally poised at 1-1 after the first leg in Soweto. Pirates need a goal to stand a chance of reaching a fourth straight final. And later in the day at 6 p.m, Stellenbosch carry that 2-0 advantage into their away clash against Sekhukhune United. The Cape side are favourites to book their place in the final, but they will be wary of a spirited Babina Noko comeback. And rugby, the Springboks have a chance to reclaim the number 1 spot in the world rankings just a week after losing it. Rassie Erasmus's men slipped to third following their 38-22 defeat to the Wallabies at Ellis Park, with the All Blacks moving top. To bounce back, the Boks must beat Australia in Cape Town tomorrow and then hope Argentina stun New Zealand by more than 15 points in Buenos Aires. Even without the All Black slip-up, a Bok victory could lift them back above Ireland into second place, but another defeat could see South Africa tumble to as low as 6th in the rankings. More rugby, the Currie Cup enters round 5 with plenty at stake. Today, the Pumas host the Cavaliers in Mbombela, hoping to bounce back from a 36-35 loss to the Lions. Boland, meanwhile, aim to build on last week's aim, and that was their win over the Bulls, and push for top spot. Later, the defending champions, the Sharks, meet Western Province in a bottom-of-the-table clash, and it seems that's where pride is still being left to play. And then tomorrow, the informed Cheetahs, they are on a 3-game winning streak. They face the Lions before the Bulls take on the Griquas in Pretoria on Sunday. And finally, tennis, the defending US champion, Jannik Sinner, ranked number 1 at the US Open this year, will be obviously looking ahead. He is in full practice mode ahead of this weekend start at Flushing Meadows in New York. That's a wrap. We'll be serving more sport with John Gericke at 12:30. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, 2 suspected criminals have been killed and a third injured in a mob justice incident at Khamasimula in Limpopo. Police spokesperson Hlulani Mashaba has confirmed that they died in hospital. Parliament's ad hoc committee established to look into allegations of threats to national security will meet again today to further discuss its terms of reference. The committee was established following explosive allegations by KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Commissioner Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi of serious corruption in the criminal justice system. And New York's Attorney General Letitia James says she will appeal to the state's highest court after a decision in favor of President Donald Trump. An appeals court has thrown out an almost $500 million penalty Trump was ordered to pay in a New York civil fraud trial last year. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM. guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Two big incidents on Gauteng's highways that are definitely worth avoiding. Number one, the N1 North going to Pretoria up to a crash at Olifantsfontein Road. Traffic is backed all the way back beyond Allendale and heavy. If you've got to get up through Midrand area towards Pretoria, towards Centurion, just get yourself onto the R55 and take that run up through Kyalami and even though Bosch and Blue Downs area. You'll have a much better run, Blue Hills, you have a much better run through the traffic than getting onto the N1. Pretoria Main Road might even work as well, but just stay off the N1, Beclue through to Olifantsfontein. Big traffic coming south, having a look at that as well. Also, the other one is a truck that's jackknifed on the R21 North opposite the airport by Ford Tracker Road. That's heavy. The queue starts right back at Barber Road on the R24. It starts back at sort of Griffiths Road, Jet Park territory on the R21 North, all the way up to Ford Tracker. Southbound motorists getting caught either having a look at it or dealing with looters that are stopping their vehicles and running across the southbound side to get onto the truck on the northbound. So pretty crazy things out there. But the R21 North, away from the airport, trying to get towards Pretoria again, worth avoiding. Other issues today, crash on the Mike 1 South at Corlett Drive, very heavy from Woodmead down through Sandton. Durban's held it down nicely this morning. In terms of any major issues around Keyridge, Cliffdale and Hammersdale, it's run remarkably nicely through there. No obstructions all morning, which is good news. And Cape Town, a bit of pressure on the N1 from Marine Drive, getting up and over the elevated freeway. And Friday being big volumes with it out through Somerset West. Today, unfortunately, no lights at Onverwacht Street Junction, so that's quite a heavy queue already. Likely to stay busy all day or until at least those lights are fixed up. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
And good morning. For the last time today in Taulang Lechela, Ditso Botla Bank into liquidation.
That's right, John. Now, the Reserve Bank has applied for the liquidation of the Tsobotla Primary Savings and Credit Cooperative Bank due to its persistent financial losses, weak governance, and non-compliance with prudential rules. Now, DCB, which serves parts of the Northwest province, was placed under resolution at the beginning of the month, and a practitioner was appointed to take control of its operations. The Reserve Bank's investigation revealed that DCB's financial position was worse than previously reported, with total assets less than its liabilities. The bank's business model was found to be unsustainable, and it is unlikely that DCB would be able to attract an alternative equity investor to recapitalize. Now, as a member of the Corporation for Deposit Insurance, DCB's depositors will be reimbursed up to 100,000 rands, covering the principal amount and any accrued interest in qualifying savings products. Depositors with balances exceeding 100,000 rands will continue to have a claim against DCB in liquidation for the remaining amount after the 100,000 rand payment.
And I see you say Spur found an alternative for a taste for life.
It seems like it. Spur says it's noticed that more supermarkets, the likes of Checkers and Woolies, are expanding their ready-made food category, and that's starting to eat away at its market share. And so to deal with this, Spur is doubling down on its sit-down family dining experience. In a Business Day article, CEO Valnikas noted convenience is a key driver, but says supermarkets can't replicate the experience a group like Spur offers. And to stay competitive, the group is overhauling its restaurant network, with 51 outlets already converted to the refurbished concept. Other brands under Spur, such as Panarottis, John Dory's, Hassa Grill, and Doppio Zero are also undergoing redesigns. Now, pressures aside, Spur managed to post positive earnings, revenue up 11% and profits increasing close to 17%. This was mainly driven by stronger restaurant sales and its expansion.
And what's happening in the markets? What can we look forward to?
So local markets likely to start the day mixed. Traders will be tracking international developments and local company news. It's a big results day with numbers from Goldfields, Adcock Ingram, and Grindrod. So lots to digest today. In currency markets, the rand being hit by a relatively stronger dollar. It's at 17.73 to the greenback this hour. Oil, in the meantime, steadily making gains, trading close to $67 per barrel. And then over in Wall Street, futures are flat. Trade will likely be muted as investors await Powell's address. Asian traders also eyeing that address at Jackson Hole, and ahead of it, stocks there are mixed.
Right, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much. And Taoling Lachela, have a great weekend. We'll catch you again on Monday.
The Bees want to impress their home crowd. They are digging deep for their first victory of the 2025-26 season. Meanwhile, the Villains are also chasing their first victory after a 0-all draw in their league opener.
The ball is with Ollie Watkins and he's touched it home. Ollie Watkins breaks the record.
This is the Premier League. Witness Brentford FC and Aston Villa this Saturday, 23 August at 3:30 p.m. Live on SABC3 and SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The boardroom heat is on and the pressure is rising. The Insurance Apprentice, hosted by the one and only Babi Moloi, is delivering drama, tough decisions, and big personalities every week. Expect bold moves, emotional twists, and contestants you'll either root for or roast. And yes, you'll be surprised what you learn about insurance along the way. Open up to the Insurance Apprentice, Thursdays at 7 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
John Gerika on SAFM.
Let's go back to the lottery now. And Ituba have denied allegations and conspiracy theories about fair play and the big winners at the National Lottery. Michelle from Trotzenberg is the head of marketing and corporate relations at Ituba. Is it just the banking channels that are winning all the money there, Michelle?
Good morning, John. Absolutely not. I mean, we've got many retailers that sell tickets, we've got banks, we've got online platforms, and when we look at these kind of narrative, when people specifically focus on a one-sided story, stating that only banks are winning all the tickets, it's not true. And we really appreciate the opportunity to set the record straight. I mean, if we look at the winners we've had over the years, I mean, some of our biggest jackpots, were won in the retail store. I mean, in 2022. We had a 167 million Powerball jackpot that was paid out to one lucky person who bought their ticket at a super spa in lifestyle area of Belito. The list goes on and on. Over the period of our tenure, we've had over 500 multi-million winners, and I can definitely confirm that they don't all come from the banking platforms.
There's also this, there seems to be the stories all the same. There's lovely heartbreak stories, and it's people who really need the money that seem to be the winners. We never hear of a multimillionaire, somebody living in Waterfall Estate winning a lottery.
You're correct in that. I mean, according to the applicable law and our regulatory requirements, Ituba is obligated to protect the identity of winners unless they expressly provide us with information. So we have had winners in the past, specifically if it's a winner that is more from an affluent background, they will not share their story. We obviously would like to share their story, but if it's a CEO, and I'm just giving an example, if they do not want to share their roads to riches story, we have an obligation to protect their identity. And yes, unfortunately, we live in a country where we do have a very, very high rate of unemployed, as well as single mom people. And yes, the stories do sound the same. And unfortunately, it is the narrative of this country. And it's really nice that we can illustrate that we've got winners from all walks of life. Whether it's a CEO or a single mom or a family that's is being managed by a child-headed person. I mean, those stories are, it's come through in every single story around the country.
I guess one has to realize, and I'm not putting any blame here, but that's your job, is to tell the good news story. If there's a single-headed household, that's a lovely story to try and convince people to get involved and to make these and to work with the lottery more.
Absolutely, John. The reality of the matter is winners come from anywhere. There's also allegations on social media saying that that we can choose the winners. That's absolutely not true. We have two completely different systems. We have a central lottery system where all the tickets are purchased and recorded, and then we use a system called an RNG, which is certified and verified, and also has been approved by our regulator, which is the National Lotteries Commission. So it's a completely separate system, two independent systems. that run in parallel. So we have no idea how what I'm trying to say is there's no human intervention. And what will happen is when we close the doors, the sales close for the day, we then pull the draw and winning numbers from the RNG, and only once we verify the results are we able to verify how many winners there are. And every single draw, it doesn't just yield one winner; it yields multiple winners.
That draw that happens when I see it live on TV, is that one person pushing a button to say, "Give me 6 numbers"?
Yes, we've got an automated system. So as the draw cells close, it fires up the RNG, and then RNG gives us the numbers. So once we air those numbers on the draw show that you see on every Tuesday and Wednesday, Friday and Saturday evening, those are the numbers that's been pulled by the RNG. At that point, John, we still don't know if there's any winners. Once the numbers have been aired on TV, then we obviously then go back and we do the verifications, which is done under a very, very watchful eye of our team of independent auditors. So there's minimal, if any, human intervention. So the system is completely integrated, works together, so there's no human intervention. We just have a full team, a dedicated draw team, plus our independent auditors, and also with oversight of the NLC, which is the regulator. They also attend our draws. So every single draw is handled with integrity and transparency.
I have to leave it there. Michelle van Trotzenberg, Head of Marketing and Corporate Relations at Ituba. Does that satisfy you? It's 8:45.
You are listening to The Morning Brief.
As part of Eskom's objective to facilitate a competitive future, they say they're transitioning from predominantly coal to a mix, increasing the proportion of clean energy sources as they head towards 2040. Acting Group Executive for Distribution for Eskom is Agnes Mlambo. Agnes, good morning to you. Thank you very much. We have this cheap, free coal under our feet. Why do we want to spend money on all these other things?
Good morning.
Did you hear my question, Agnes? Agnes, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
We have all this.
Apologies, I missed the question.
We have all this cheap.
Good morning to you.
We've got all this cheap, free coal under our feet. Why do we want to transition?
Well, as a country, it's a decision that we have made that we are going to transition into cleaner energy. That does not mean in any way that with our renewables that we will be completely replace our coal fleet, which will always remain as the base. But as a country, this is part of our just energy transition, which is also contributing to our sustainable goals.
How are you going to do this now with this expression of interest?
We did an expression of interest. What we are doing now, which is a follow-up to that expression of interest from our customers, we are now on an RFP where we are asking for the proposals from our customers. And it is only 291 megawatts of predominantly of solar, which is a very small percentage if you look at our capacity as Eskom.
291 megawatts. What's the target? What is the goal of renewable energy to be by 2040?
Currently, our base load is 32 gigawatts.
32 gigawatts. So you're hoping that all of that will be renewable?
No, not all of it will be renewables. Obviously, we do have a rollout towards over the 10-year period. But yes, a mega part of it will become renewables. But this is part of an increased capacity to 77 gigawatts in total, and about 50%, which is 32 gigawatts of that, will be renewable. But this is obviously over time.
How soon will these new renewable sources, when will they come into operation?
For the one that we've gone out in the market for, it is December 2027, but not all of it will be available by December 2027, but the first 2 gigawatts will be ready by December 2027.
And part of this is going to be built on Eskom land. It's not necessarily external. Will it be owned by Eskom? What is the business model when it comes to these kind of facilities?
It will be on Eskom land. as you've indicated.
Uh-huh.
And it is within the current coal power stations that we have. It is part of the transition with the resources as well as the land that we have. And when I'm referring to resources, I'm also referring to the people that are currently employed in those power stations.
Mm-hmm. So if I'm an external company, help me out. So if I want to supply solar power to Eskom, are you buying the panels and the setups and the batteries and then pay a company to install that? Or will companies have a share in those panels?
The partnership that we are looking at will be a combination of the construction as well as some partnership with the private sector in terms of the construction, but we are exploring different models. It's not going to be a one-size-fits-all.
Okay, so everyone will be different. So it's not like a company is going to come in and charge Eskom more and start profiteering from electricity.
No, that's not the intent.
Okay, and when it comes to electricity prices, will this lower the prices or make it more expensive? Because we're suffering at the moment, Agnes.
With the RFP, we will have contracts with the companies, the customers that are interested. And because the companies are going to give us a proposal, the price will be determined by that process.
Agnes Mlambo Group.
But the intent is that it has to be competitive.
It's got to be competitive. We're suffering. Agnes Mlambo, thank you very much. Acting Group Executive for Distribution for Eskom.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
N1 South is heavy this morning, coming out of Pretoria on your way to Joburg. Queues down to a breakdown before Rigel. It's quite a big volume now. I think it comes a little bit later on a Friday. It was much easier earlier, but net result there from Garsfontein down through Rigel. It's heavy. Then a crash at Samrand, so a secondary queue coming down from the old Joburg exit into that one. And the N1 North starting to move after an earlier crash blocked everything up very badly into Olifantsfontein. That route is busy, but it is starting to move on. A crash on the main road coming in from Lone Hill near Robin, so that's quite heavy on your way into Bryanston today. Crash on the Mike 1 South at Corlett Drive, still very slow passing Santa on your way to Melrose. And do try to avoid this. A truck is jackknifed on the R21 northbound at Ford Trekker Road opposite OR Tambo International Airport. Now it's very heavy. The R21 coming up past the airport's bad. The R24 to get into the R21 queues back as far as Barbara Road, so major delays there, very limited lanes to get past. The southbound side has eased up, but it's the northbound side that's all the trouble. Looking okay, Pietermaritzburg to Durban, it's been a good run through. It stays good this hour. No major problems through Cliffdale and Key Ridge, which is also always worth noting, as is the opposite, but this morning it's good. Cape Town, N2 inbound through Langa towards Hospital Bend stays busy, and it's been a really jam-packed morning out of Brackenfell. Okavango Road southbound towards the M1 passing Cape Gate Mall stays busy. De Bron coming into that slow as well. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
We've got 8 minutes to wrap up the show. Let's take some voice notes and calls.
Good morning, John. With regards to the conversation you had with Kolani Zuma, the legal advisor for that vigilante group.
All right, we played that one. Let's start at the top. We'll go back a little bit.
Good morning, John. This is Nati from Cape Town. John, I just wanted to concur with former CEO and founder of Capitec with regards to that the labor stats are not as what they should be. Because if you see, like, there is a gig economy nowadays, and also there is this informal, like, employment that people do, like your rental units in the locations, your car washes, your shisa and everything. All those, they earn more than a minimum wage. However, because it is cash things, they do not maybe declare it to SARS, or maybe it is still under threshold. So SARS need to get other method of factoring those in. Now imagine if we were to reserve the waitering, petrol attendants on all other days delivery jobs for the locals, where our stats would be. We'd be probably sitting at 10%, 11% of unemployment in South Africa, not 30 as they say. Thank you. That's my contribution for today.
Can we go to Amos on March and March? Go ahead, Amos.
Hi, good day, John. How are you?
Lekker.
John, I just want to put up my word there on that legal representative. I think it was Zuma or something.
Yes.
I was quite disappointed that a person that's supposed to be a legal representative speaks a strict language. I mean, in the sense that he just echo. Obviously, I understand that he's there to defend his clients, but he echo on what is being spoken in the street. He said that foreigners killed and raped and all those things, but that is happening in everybody. You know, murder shouldn't be supposed to be a thing of like putting a title on it, or because this guy is doing it and then it's a problem, but when the other guy do it, it's not a problem. I think they can do better. You know, like they got their right to do whatever they're doing, but I simply believe that they can find a better strategy and then a better way to approach the situation that we're all facing actually at the moment.
All right.
And that is my point of view. But I was quite disappointed by him saying what those things he was saying. It didn't make any sense. I can see that guy never checked his fact. People are being turned out of hospital, people are being turned out of clinics, and he cannot come and say that is not happening. And that's unfortunate. That is very sad.
Amos, thank you very much. Let's go to Jabba. You want to talk about ESCOM? Jabba, go ahead.
Hey, how are you, man?
Lekker.
Good. No, I just want to contribute on what the lady was saying now in terms of just energy transition.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they have a full understanding of what they're trying to do. I'm not an expert, but I know a bit about what is happening now. You know, let's talk about renewables. They've just closed down Komati Power Station here in Mpumalanga. Komati Power Station was giving them 1,000 megawatts. That can be produced by these renewables. They struggle to do that. And now we talk about the base. Talk about the base load. Currently, coal is giving us more than 70% in the country, and renewables cannot give us that. There is something gigawatts that she's talking about. We cannot get that from the renewables. So their plan is not. And if she's talking about the ESCOM land, where's ESCOM land? Where are they going to get land? Because let me give you an example. A wind farm. We just some time ago we went to a wind farm that had these wind turbines. I think it was 39 wind turbines, but they were only producing 66 megawatts at peak. 66 megawatts, and you know, for you to put 39 wind turbines, they'll have to be in a land that I think it was around 20 hectares or something.
Yeah, they spread out all over the place on top of mountains out in Peru there. Yeah,
that's huge. Where do you get that type of land? And you remember that you can't plant anything underneath, so it's just land that's going to be used for that.
They're talking about green hydrogen as well.
Yes, we can support that, but I don't think they are thinking this through. And the other thing is that these things are killing the jobs, especially in Mpumalanga.
Yeah.
But they are not producing anything behind, because we are not producing panels, we are not producing the turbines, we are not producing anything that we are going to replace the jobs with. So there must be jobs that are created downstream, but that's not happening, because even in the plant that we went to, that plant in those hectares, it's only operated by 8 people. Those 8 people were trained in Austria. So there's no technicians for that technology. So whenever there's a shutdown, you have to get guys from other countries to come and service those things. So there's no benefit to us as South Africans.
All right, Jabu, we need to wrap it there. Let's go to Samuel. You want to talk about illegal immigrants, Samuel?
Yes, John. John, yes. You see, John, as Dudula and everyone, we have tried everything to show this government about the foreigners, but they are not listening to anyone. The only thing that I'm thinking of, if I was in part of the Dula, I would want to tell everyone who have rent out these foreigners at our township, because at the moment we are busy fighting with the government, they are doing nothing about it. But if ourselves in South Africa, we also have to take a blame on ourselves.
He's complaining about the Constitution, that there's something wrong with the Constitution. He's complaining about the Constitution, that there's something wrong with the Constitution. I'm here in front of me having Section 212, Section 211, and Section 212 of the Constitution. There it is stated, the institution, status, and role of traditional leadership, according to customary law, are recognized subject to the Constitution. So I'm interested now in you having him back for full time now to talk more on that one, because their status and role is recognized subject to the Constitution. So whatever they do, where I am, there's a big complaint here. Yeah, through COPTA, they want to amass everything that we have in the land, even a mere rental by companies like Vodacom. They want it to themselves, which is, we don't accept that. When they see a hairy hand from the private sector, that we see as an injection to our development as rural people, they want that to themselves. No, we don't accept that. Have him back again to explain what it is that they want.
Yeah, we did run out of time. But yeah, it's an ongoing conversation and we did speak to Nkosi Langa Mavuso earlier, Deputy Chairperson of the National House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders, saying that the promises made by the government weren't being followed through and they want to address the plight of the rural people. That was after their Indaba. Thank you very much for joining me. It's been a pleasure to be with you for the week. Tulas is back again on Monday. Thanks very much to Mdu, Tabelo and Melissa for putting the show together. Mpo was on the buttons. Kathy's next. It's 9 o'clock.
In our top stories, Reserve Bank approaches court to liquidate Geopolitical Bank and 2 men killed in a mob justice attack. Good morning. The South African Reserve Bank has applied to the High Court for an order to liquidate Geopolitical Primary Savings and Credit Cooperative Bank Limited, situated in Lichtenburg in the northwest. This follows an earlier decision by the Minister of Finance based on the recommendations by the South African Reserve Bank to place the bank in resolution. Since then, an in-depth assessment was done which found the bank's financial position was significantly worse than previously reported. The resolution practitioner concluded that the bank is insolvent and identified significant compliance, governance and operational failures. The liquidation hearing is scheduled for next week. 2 suspected criminals have been killed and a third injured in a mob justice incident at Khamasimula in Limpopo. Police spokesperson Hlulani Mashaba has confirmed that they died in hospital. Mashaba says the men were accused of burglary at a local store. Their identities have not yet been released. Mashaba says investigations are continuing.
The members of the police were alerted to a violent mob justice attack and the injured men were rushed to a local hospital. At about 6:30 in the evening, the police received confirmation that 2 of the victims, aged 29 and 34, had succumbed to their injuries. The third victim, aged 32, sustained severe injuries and remains in hospital under critical care. Preliminary investigations indicate that the victims were accused by community members of being involved in burglary at a local store.
Parliament's ad hoc committee established to look into allegations of threats to national security will meet again today to further discuss its terms of reference. The committee was established following explosive allegations by the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, of serious corruption in the criminal justice system. Among others, Mkhwanazi alleged that some of the most senior officials in the South African Police Service are involved in corruption and that the police